Total Freedom, the Essential Krishnamurti is a book that tells us that the real freedom comes when we sweep inside us. It has the chosen talks and written ideas of Krishnamurti which they spoke to people in different places. This book explains that there is no way to truth. No religion or guru can take us there. Every person has to see himself inside himself without fear, without any belief. Krishnamurti says we should not be dependent on any organization, guru, or system about us by thinking. Your actions have to understand life. In this book he has talked about early talks, daily life's problems, large questions, and our relationship with the world. Every part monitors life from a separate angle. Krishnamurti says that if we become free from fear, suffering, and conditioning, we begin to live really. The words of Krishnamurti are simple, but their impact is very deep. This book is for those who really want to bring freedom, love, and understanding to life without any shortcuts. Let's try to understand this book by page. Truth is a pathless land. The truth is a land that has no way. Order of the Star in the East 1911 was built to tell the world that a world teacher is going to come. Krishnamurti was created the head of that order. On August 2, 1929, the first day of a camp at the Oman of Holland, Krishnamurti finished this order in front of 3,000 people. This spike is the same day. In the morning we are going to talk about the order of the state's sake. Some people are happy sadness, but this is not a thing of happiness, because it was the same. Now I tell why. You will remember a story. Satan and his friends were running on the street. He saw a man picked up something from the ground and put in his pocket. What did the friend say? One piece of Satan bala truth. It is bad for thee. Satan said, I will not let him organize. I believe that there is no way to truth and you cannot reach me through any path, any religion or sect. This is my approach and I consider it completely and without any condition. The truth is infinite. Infinity cannot be reached from any condition and any way. She can't be organized and no organization should work to take or force people to a particular way. If you understand this, you will notice that organizing any bilinguals is impossible. Belief is a personal thing and it cannot be organized and should not be done. If you do this, he dies, becomes stone, then she a creed, a denomination becomes a religion that is imposed on others. And it's happening around the world. The truth is shortened and he just becomes a game for those who are weak or sad for a while. The truth cannot be brought down. Humans have to climb up. You cannot bring the mountain peak into the valley. If you want to reach the peak, you have to go through the valley. Climb, going through dangerous edges without fear. You have to climb the truth. He will not come down for you and no one will come down to him. Can't make way for. Organizations just wait the interest from the outside. But the interest does not mean if he did not come to love for the truth from the inside. Organization becomes just a framework in which people fit themselves. Then they do not try to reach the truth or the peak, but they just find a comfortable place where they fit and think that organization will lead them to truth. That's my first refuge. I think the Order of the Star should be over. Yeah, I know you guys made new orders. Continue to ignite new organizations that make a drama to find the truth. I don't want to be part of any visual organization. Make sure you understand it well. Yes, I will use an organization that can take me to London for exams such as train or post or telegram. All this are mechanical things. They are not allowed to take any time from the spiritual life. I say again, no organization can lead the human to the spirit. If an organization of the spirit, if it is made, he becomes a stick, a weakness, a bond, and he prevents human beings from finding their real identity, from growing up, in which he himself reaches the truth without the whole conditions. This is my second reason that the being of the head of the order I took the decree to finish it. No one was forced me. It's not a big job because I don't need followers. And I'm really saying, the moment that you follow someone is left to follow the truth. I don't matter you hear me or not. I have to do a job in the world and I am focusing on the same with full tension. I just have a corpus to try the human being. I want to seduce him from all cages, all fears. I don't have to make a new religion, neither have to start with a new one, nor have to develop a tidy or philosophy. Then ask you why you're speaking around the world. Why do I tell? I need followers. I need a group of special discipline. How much man loves to show himself different. Whether it's worthless, useless, and why not stupid. I don't want to promote that useless differentiation. I have no disciple. There is no disciple. No ground in the world of spirit. Neither makes me greed of money nor draws the desire to live a life of rest. If I have to stay comfortable, I don't come to a camp or stay in a wet, cool place. I am speaking straight because I wanted to clear it once. I don't get into debates like children every year. A newspaper reporter interviews me done. She said that breaking so large organization is a great job that had thousands of members. It was a great job for him. What will you do? How to go? You won't have any followers. People will not listen to you. If only 5 people are ready to listen, they are ready to live, whose face is really on the side of the eternity, then on the side of the eternity is quite. What are the benefits of thousands? those who are completely lost in chronic thinking, those who don't want the new ones who want to turn the new one into their unconscious and closed thinking are. Don't go wrong if I speak fast. It is not because of the kindness. As the doctor performs the operation, he has his mercy. So if I speak straight, it is because of real love, not because of hate. As I said earlier, I just have the same motive. Trying a man. Take him to the freedom, help him to break all the bondages. That's why it can give him true happiness. Realize your real identity with no conditions. I have tried myself. Not a little half, but a whole of no conditions, the truth that is forever. That's why I want people to understand me to be free. I have to follow me. Don't make me a cage later to make a release or sect. They should be free from fear, fear of religion, fear of liberation, fear of spirituality, fear of love, fear of death, fear of life. As an artist performs paintings, she enjoys her. He is his self-expression. He is happy. I'm doing it all. I do not have something to do for someone. You have been in the habit of the authority or its environment. You think that another will take you to the area of eternal freedom by making a miracle through some of its different powers. Where is just happiness? Thinking of your life is based on the same authority. You have been listening to me for 3 years without any changes. Now let me know. Think so that you understand it deeper. When you find an authority for the visuality, you automatically cultivate an organization around you, and as you create such an organization, be in which you believe that he will take you to the spirituality, you yourself turn off into a cage in a cage. If I'm speaking open, remember I'm not talking about anger or hardly, but I'm speaking because I want you to understand me well. That's why you're here, and if I don't tell a clean straight in your point of view, it's all time waste. You were preparing for this event from 18 years, to come to the world teacher. From 18 years you have organized. You have someone find the hearts and minds that give you new happiness. Change your life. Give you a new understanding. You can take a new level. Give you the new hope. Give you freedom. And now look what is happening. Think of yourself now. Understand what this Billy F has brought you in. Not from the superficial defense of wearing badges that are worthless and laughter. Did this Bylef remove all the wasteful things of your life? That's the real way to judge. How do you become more oppressed, deeper, more dangerous for every society that is lies and remains on wasteful things? What is the real change in members of this organization? As I said, you are preparing me for 18 years. I don't matter whether you believe or not I'm a world teacher. That's not exactly the same. Because you are a member of the Murder of the Star, you gave your support, your energy, assuming that Krishnamurti is the world teacher, for those who are really looking for, and for those who are happy in their half-incomplete truths. You are preparing for 18 years, and how much is the problem of understanding? How much tangle, how wasteful things do? In your inner bless, your fear, your guru, your new old temple, all I say there is interruption in the way of understanding. I can't make it clearer. I don't want you to agree me. I don't want you to follow me. I want you to understand my thing. It is important to understand because your Bylef has not changed you, just an entangled. You don't want to see things like you. You must your new God. New old space. New religion replacing old religions. The new way sucks all instead of old. Blockage, limitation, support have been formed. You've made new replaces the old spiritual defense. There are new ways to place old puja. You have a dependent on someone else for your visuality. Pay someone else for your happiness. Another pay for your enlightenment. And you have made 18 years of my preparation. Yet when I say it's not all necessary, when I say you should look inside your left everything, your own for illumination, for your glory, to be your pure, for your stature, then there is no ready to do it. Maybe some people are, at least then what does organization mean? The false people follow me that you say the truth. What does it mean to follow them? Remember the plies, I'm not talking about some bitter or bad. But now we have come to that turn. We'll have to look for things like that. I said last year I wouldn't have any compromise. Very few people talked about me soon you. This year I've said to be absolutely clean. I don't know how many thousand people around the world who are in the order. My preparations were 18 years old, and when it came to pass it is not ready to listen to me without a condition. So then what works of organization? As I said before, my motive is to completely try the human being. Because I believe that the real spirit is the same, where the self never deteriorates, that always lives. Where there is a perfect balance of regeneration and love. The real unconditional truth that is life is your own. That's why I want to try the human being. Just as a bird flies in the open sky, happy in the full freedom dependent on someone without burden, and I am now saying that you will have to be free from all these things. For your trap from your traps, you don't need to have an organization with a visual bilingual. What is the need of organization? For just 5 or 10 people who understand, those who are strangled, who have left all wasteful things, and anyone for those who are vulnerable. Organization cannot find the truth, because the truth is inside everyone. No one is away. He is always the same. Organizations cannot make you freedom. You can't try out any person. No organized worship to burn yourself for any cost. Don't make an organization. Don't get lost in any work. To write the letter you use the typewriter, but do not worship the temple. You are doing the same when you make the organizations the most important. How many members are there? This is the first question that every newspaper reporter asks me. How many followers are you? From their count, we will judge whether you are saying it is true or not. I don't know how many. I don't have any meaning to it. As I said, if only one man really tried, then he is quite enough. Again, in your mind, it's just a few people have the keys of the kingdom of happiness. No one has. No one has a chance to have this key. The key you are yourself and just your inside development, purification, and ever there is no deterioration self. He is always the kingdom. So now you can see how much it sucks. The complete structure that you have created. Finding help out frequently. Staying dependent on others, for happiness, for sukulin, for your strength. It can get all inside you. So what does organization mean? You've used to hear how much you grow. What is your spiritual level? How much is the child? Are you beautiful? Who can tell you more? You are incapable yourself or not just you may know the same. You don't have the same serious in these things. So what does organization mean? But those who will never die, they're not and they will focus. He will become a fire because he has understood. One such group is to make us, and that is my corpus. The real friendship will be due to that real understanding, and the real friendship caused by you will not be able to do so far with real. The real in the river would is not today to 40, but that is the into this other info snap the name of our season. But if you have really understood and directed to live that life. This is all the pleasures of living every single sacrificial. So there are some responsions that I took this dissertation after 2 years of thinking. No instant impulse. No one celebrated me for this. I do not think of someone else in such a disorder. Up to 2 years I thought gradually carefully with the profession, and now I have disassembled that the order can stop as I am headed by it. You may want to create new organizations, await someone else. I don't have any meaning to it. I am interested in making new cages, not in the new decoration of those cages. Part 1. Jiddu Krishnamurthy was born in 1895 in a simple Brahmin house named Indian Madangpal. When he was 10 years old, his mother died, and in his childhood he was worse. He often lived sick. When his father is from government job retirement took place, he spoke to Andasan, who was the president of the International Theosophical Society, to work in the organization in which he was in labor for a few years. Krishnamurthy was 14 years old at that time. 14, and he went away to the Theosophical headquarters of Madras with his 3 brothers and father. Message became a deep and loving relationship between Basant and Krishnamurthy, and he took the Jimma to become the legal guardian of Krishnamurthy. Theosophist people were waiting for a world teacher, and for his preparation he was of the group was created named by the order of the star in the east in which Krishnamurthy was headed. In 1912, Krishnamurthy was declared as the official world teacher, but in 1929 he broke this order through the bold speech truth as a pathless land in a spherical manner. By doing so, he left the claim of being land, money, power, and every kind of authority or guru. After that, in his entire life, Krishnamurti traveled around the world and spoke to every human being who wanted to hear. Europe, India, United States, South America, Australia, and in New Zealand. Thousands of people from every background were listening to their things. In this part, some of the selected talks of the Krishnamurti were given in the middle of 1930. It has a talk that took place in Mexico City and a series that took place in 1934 in Ujjayi, California, where Krishnamurti spent years from World War to 1939 to 1945. What do you want to ask? If you don't want us to join a society or take any theory, then what do you want to do? What I want to do is that you may entangle the suffering as a person and cross this rate of collide, whole, and deep fulfillment pathways. This fulfillment does not come from self-expression with its ego, nor by force or imitating, not only from any fancy feeling or concluding, but by thinking clean, wise action. We will cross this sadness. There is a real reality that is only deep and true fulfillment. Before understanding the beauty and depth of this fulfillment, the mind must be tried with its old background, trade, habit, and bias. As if you're from a perpetual political party, you'll look at the same party as small and limited terms. If you are older in a release, you will see life from the darkness of that religion. This background prevents you from understanding life in a whole way. And this is why condensation and suffering occurs. I am telling you that I listen carefully. Get freedom from your old background, trade, and bias for at least this hour and simpels about human problems. Think. Being a true critical doesn't always make up. Most people are just taught to get rid of, not to criticize. When one just goes up, it often means that he has a personal advantage that he wants to save and does not have a true sense of crisis. True crisis is when you try to understand the whole meaning of a value without any self-offense. In the whole world we see extreme poverty and richness. One side is plentiful, and on the other side, We see the distinction of the class, caste, the hatred of nationalism, the folly of nationalism, and the scary violence of war. One person is abused by another person. Application. Religion has become an expert for its personal benefits and is also different from human beings. There is anxiety, confusion, frustration. We are looking for it all. This is part of our everyday life. If the man who is trapped in the cyclone of this tragic, he would definitely think of what could be the solution of these human problems. So, if you're really happy with this world's messy condition, you're completely sleeping. Be living in a dream world. If you're awake in an illusion, you'll definitely get rid of these problems. Some people go to experts in a dizzy to find their solution, follow their ideas and thinks. Gradually this people become a separate group and then their conflict becomes from another experts and their group. And then a person becomes just a tool in the hand of a group or expert, or then you follow a system that becomes just another way of carefully seen to apply exploitation of the individual. Or you think that there should be a mass movement to change all violence and horror, a collective action. But if you don't understand the real role that you're part of a month, then this month keeps this crowd movement just a fancy word. A true collective action can be only if you go as a person who is also part of the crowd and remember the pleas of any force without taking full responsibility of your action. I am not giving you any philosophy that you are follow the blindfold. I just want to wake a desire inside you of a true and wise fulfillment. That's the only thing that can bring happiness, orders and grinds to the world. Real and permanent changes in the world will come only. The fulfillment of love and understanding will happen only when you wake up, and the traps of the illusions that have been built in your mind will begin to be free from fear. When the brain gets rid of all these obstructions, when there is a deep change from the inside and your responsibilities, only real long-lasting true collective action possible is in which there is no force. I am talking to you as a person, not from any group or party. If you don't freckle for your entire responsibility and your fulfillment, your work as a human being in society will remain short and hidden in the same way. The root of suffering is the question of how it can be deeper and personal revolution. If inside a human being, this true child will make a perfect environment for all, you will make a perfect environment without any loss or race difference, then the whole world is the same human family. But how will you become a man who is now going to speak for this deep revolution as a person is not difficult, and because it is so simple, I'm afraid you'll be ignoring it by saying that it is not clear or powerful. Find a fixed plan that you say powerful, to be pointed out what to do the exam. But if you understand yourself, whatever is if you indeed fluent, you will never become involved even know to take advantage of you. Following any kind of yours is your whole. For this deep revolution, you have to be completely aware of the structure that you have made around you, in which you are now stuck. Meaning we have some values, some ideals, some beliefs that hold the mind like a net. And you will see how to make all this happen when you start fully understanding them. You can't take action in full and true ways until you know what you're living in jail and how to jail it bunny. And when you look at it without any self-offense, you will understand yourself. This means that no other can explain to you. The way of true fulfillment will help you through your own pain by waking up your intelligence. We all find security and sustainability through our ego's thought and action, also outside and inside. If you look at your thinking carefully, you'll see that you're looking for the safety and comfort for your ego. Actually, there's no such fixed division of life such as objective and subjective world. I'm describing it just to convince. The discovery of the ego-led safety at the outside level looks through the family that becomes the center of an application that is based on a position. If you look at it carefully, you'll find that what you love family is just a positiveness. The discovery of the same safety then becomes a class divide that changes in the eclipse of nationalism and imperialism, where the hatred caste is formed and eventually the violence of the war. So we've made a world through our own ego-based designers, nationalities of different governments, to prepare the war and make the man stand the man's age. Then comes through the search for the securities and scholarity with ego. You're happy to believe that a divine power has created this organized beliefs that you call reliance. But in real you have created this releases yourself for your convenience. After the centuries, it has become a secret and you have now become a slave. There may never be any idle release. That's why we don't waste our time in debate. Let us see how we created the release and how we become the slave of them. If you look at these releases just like it is without makeup, so you'll see that it's just a business of organized belief that captures, separates, and explores it. As you find the security in the outside world, you find a separate safety inside. What you say? If you want your ego to stay alive even after you die and give you the name of the immorality, I'll tell you in the next talks the true immortality that is for me. When you find your security, fear arises in the same search and then you cited yourself to someone else. What promises you will give you immortality? Let's make you a visual authority for this fear. And to run this authority, the pandit that takes advantage of you, through the show pretends of your Bilo's dogma and creed, and through the glory of Shana Hadgat, which is known as the release of worldwide. It is based on all fears. Fear whether you love it God or truth, why not say? If you look at it carefully, it is just a reluctance to fear, and because of this, the exemption of the human being becomes a genius of human abuse. In order to serve the ego for your degeneracy, you have created this illusion yourself that you call religion, and you may have either a concierge or unconsciously trapped in it, or you may not be a member of a release, but you're part of a group or a section of a section that provides a reward for after a boost die of a concealed ego, or you are not in a group or set. You may have a hidden desire inside you to find your emotionality. The fear will be as long as you have a desire of self-continued use in any form inside you, and this fear creates authority, and then it is born to a hidden violence and uncontrollable that prepares you for exfoliation. This approximation is so subtle, so fine, so refined that the man begins to love him and tells him to move to the side of the spiritual progress or perfection. Now you have a person as this to understand the entire complex structure, to see the source of fear, and you have to be ready to remove it, whether it is unsurpassed. This means you'll have to hit your inside with estimating ideals and values, and when the brain is free from lies, for all you can create a perfect environment. Your first work is that you understand that you are in a prison, and then you will see that your own thinking tries to avoid the collision of that prison at all times. This sketches give you idols. What makes it look like, but in real, he is also an electronic. A chronic move of the brain is to escape into the ideal, because if he does not run, he has to hit the direct gel that environment, meaning the mind is part of an illusion because he knows that if he is tucked with the truth, he will surely come. When he qualifies the value, morality and release of the gel, that's why you'll have to hit the trades and values that society and religion have imposed you, and you don't have to run intellectually through the ideal. When you quit these values when you start, the real intelligence will wake you up. The only thing that can give the solution of human values. There may be no fulfillment unless the brain is stuck in false values. Only perfection shows the truth. The complexion itself shows the truth. Joe's movement, dated October 20, 1935, Mexico City of Eternal Life. What is the are you caking? What are you looking for? My motive is not to give you a system of thinking in talks, but you have the power of thinking, and for this I have some things speak. There will be no final things, but I want you to think carefully. Many questions will arise when you think. If you ask me that question, I will try to answer them, and then we will be able to talk deeper. Why do I think of? Maybe you've got to find something, but what are you looking for? You can't answer this question easily, because your search changes frequently. What you're looking for is constantly changing, so you really don't know what you want, what to look for. But you have made a habit to go from a teacher to another teacher, to follow different societies, organizations, different systems. Actually, you're just looking at what you get from the most setup or extradition. Going from one system to another teacher, you should call this process as a truth search. Basically, you're just going from one idea to another. Be going to collect everything from one thought system to another, in hope that you will understand life. This means people. People understand their struggles, and every time they say yes now. But I want you not to say when my things are over, so now I got something. You are lost at the same time as the moment you say. He becomes an anchor that sits for the mind grip, and then the real eternal movement that he stops, and most of the minds find a clear goal. With a desire that I have to find something, and when it becomes a desire you definitely get something, but he does not have one. He stops and most of the minds find a clear goal, the dead, and then you escape behind the other except him. And this is the process of repeated touching and dropping, you say wisdom, experience, or truth. Perhaps more of you have come here with this atud, whether you know or not. Thinking of yours takes just to find schemes and confirmations, in the desire to join movements or groups, without understanding what is the basic truths of life. As I said, I do not give you any idol that you copy. I'm giving you a goal search. My motive is just that your minds themselves began to rejoice with these things that we have created and that we've assumed the truth without thinking. Now every man tries to make the product of his environment immortal. What is the result of your environment? You try to make it emotional. Your fears, hopes, want, likes, dislikes that you say your template are all really just the results of the environment, and all of them become a bundle of yours, your conscience. Is it not true, is it? The entire strangle occurs between this I and the environment. That's what you've caught with your mind. He is the result of the environment, and the strangle moves between the constant changes of that I and the environment. You are constantly looking for immortality for this I. Easy words lie in your own wants to make yourself true and eternal. There is no reaction when you make an understanding of the environment, and therefore there is no collision between that reaction and its creator. So it is the desire to become a sustainability and resting, which is to find imadi. You say this process of evolution, process of understanding truth or God or life. And anyone who helps you to make this I immortal, you have made it your savior, your guru, your master. You follow this system. Never mind. When you follow your mind, you think you're smart, because you think he will take you to the immortality. If you want someone else for you to make the reaction immortal, that is the result of the environment that is in real lies. With the desire to make this lie at the same time you make the release. Create societies, politics, economic systems, moral rules. And only when you create a system to make an individual immortal, you lose yourself in that process, and then you hit the same thing that you have created yourself, that arises from the desire for your own security. And what you say immort is why it is necessary to have the after all flight should releases exists in the religions. Releasing has become a division of thinking. This grown is. It is plated extended, and it has been learned through different billies. Because you have the desire inside you to realize that you find something that you become immortal. And those who are moral standards have also been created by the society so that a human being has been in control of it. Morality cannot be standardized for me. At the same time, morality and standards cannot be both. There may be only intelligence that is neither standard. On this we will talk further. Now the process of finding it constantly is of joy, of truth, of reality. This jar of health is inside everyone, so that she got safety, permanence. And the same search for permanence occurs inside the conflict, which is the result of the environment, and between the environment itself. What is it? When you say I am my house, my wife, my child, my love, my tenement, what's all? He is just the result of the environment, and the same conflict between the result of the result and the environment. Conflict can be only and only if there is a lie on both sides. Never conflict between true and false, no. Why? So between two different levels of lies that have a collision between lies things. So it's not true that the struggle you do between yourself and the environment that you call the true struggle. Strolling around you between you and your surroundings. Your husband, your wife, baby, neighbor, society, political groups among all. And you are wondering that this is the battle important so that you can find happiness, truth, immortality, or ecstasy. Easy words that you say truth, just one self-conscious I is always trying to become immortal, and the environment is a constantly changing lie. The movement of fowls becomes an environment for you that you are called a progress evolution. The joy for me is true, or God did not get all that is the result of a changing environment. Let's explain in another way. All you know is the conflict between you and the environment. If you think I can beat the environment and control it, then I will really understand. So the constant battle keeps moving between you and the environment. What are you? You also have the result of the environment. So what are you doing? Fight the second lie from the lie. And as long as you do not understand the environment, it will remain false. So it makes the environment that you say that you always try to become immortal and make that I immortal. The release system's philos make it all bondage and barrier. That's why there's always a conflict between I and environment, and like I said, there is never a conflict between the truth and lies. The only two lies between. But in your mind, it's noted that it will take you to power, irony, eternity, reality, truth, and happiness among the struggle I and environment. But the real thing that we should take care of is not on the environment. How do we not win it on the street? How do you escape from it if you qualify the environment and try to understand what it means? You will understand the real value of it. Not more people are just engaged in escape. From circumstances to situations, they don't see what is its piling. What is it? What is the truth? When you see the truth of the environment, it brings a great change in your life. A complete idea hurricane with no authority. Very few people are ready to see the truth because it means a real deep resolution, and a lot of people want changes. So most people are just engaged in avoiding the environment. He hides from him or finds new substitutes are. Just like removing the Jesus and make a new wearer. The old teachers take place new teachers. Never think whether they need a guide. If you just ask, it will be quite enough. The same will explain the true meaning of your demand. While you are looking for a substitute, the authority is definitely there. A leader has to follow, and therefore, a man becomes just a small part of the system, like the machine of the society and the release. If you look carefully about what you're looking for, just a comfort, security, and escape way, seeking to find. It is not true that he is not able to understand. That's just an escape. And so he tries to win every obstacle. Winning on means simply placing the second thing instead of one thing. And there is no understanding in the subsyllabus. People run through the release, through their rowels, Molly standards, fears, throughs of authorial rights. And people also participate in the name of their self-expression. Most people who say self-exploration are just a reaction against the environment. Try to express yourself the next to the environment, through art, through science, through different functions. I'm not talking about the real and spontaneous expressions here that swell from beauty, art, or science. He is so complete in himself. I'm talking about people who use these things just to express yourself. A real artist does not show his art by saying self-expression. He just sucks and expresses the thing. There are a lot of fake artists in the world. People like fake spiritual only those who want to find something through self-expression, those who are not getting them in their environment. In the affairs of the same search for security and parency, we have created the releases in which this solidity dividing the application and all of it have become a way to go apart, and it has become such a strong input on the way of escape that the environment means that the condiments are around us to deal with them. It takes a lot of action, a very and powerful action, and very few people are ready for him are. You become ready to work only from the force of environment. As if a man becomes good and moral, then you say what is good human. How much changed? On the basis of that change is also environment. And as long as you are dependent on the environment for the righteous action, then you should ask at whether it's a release or something else, which is a true artist, which is a true spirit, is an expression of spontaneous. And it is complete. There is a complex. So what are you doing now? What is happening in life? What do you try? What are you looking for? A strangle running between you and the constantly changing environment. You are looking for a way to beat the environment, so that you make yourself the result of the environment that you own. Or maybe your environment has repeatedly stopped your self-expression, and because you find new ways to express yourself, as humanity, service, economic systems, and more excuses. Everyone has to understand what he really is looking for, and if he is not looking for something he means is a satisfied and decay has started, and if there is a strangle, the desire is to win or escape that struggle or dying on it. As I said, the conflict is just when two lies hit. On the one hand, you say real that there is only the relapse of the environment for me, and on the other hand the environment itself. If your brain is just about to win this struggle, you are just raising the lies, and the more complex will come and the more sadness. But if you seem to understand the real meaning of the environment, such as money, poverty, exemption, pressure, caste, release, and modern things, if you don't want to win them but try to understand, then it will come to think of an interactive action and a complicate resolution change. Then there will be no strangle, just lights will wipe the dark. There is never a conflict between illumination and darkness. There is no conflict between truth and lies. The conflict is just when the two depositions hit. Ojai, California, June 16, 1934. The significance of environment. The real meaning of environment is probably what you remember yesterday. I talked about the birth of the conflict and how the mind begins to find a solution. Every morning I want to talk about it. On the concept of conflict and disharmony, and want to show how much it is worthless to try that the brain finds its solution, is just finding the solution does not eliminate the conflict. When you find a solution, you just have a new idea to eliminate the conflict. The theory is brought to that place, or you are completely escaped from the conflict. When people want to experience their contacts, they do the same. If you look carefully, you immediately begin to find the solution when a conflict occurs. If you want to get the way out of it, and in most cases you get away, but you did not have a conflict solvent. You've just shifted it to a new environment through the new condition, and that new condition also brings new contacts. So let's talk about this whole conflict. Where do we do it? Now, there is a result of the contact environment. What is the environment if you speak in another way? When do you feel the environment? Just when you hit him or her registrate. If you look at your life, you will find that the conflict rotates your life again and again. He breaks, changes its shape, and the intelligence that is the perfect balance of the mind and heart does not say any role in your life. Mean environment frequently your life pushes, brings him to action, molds it. And the process of breaking, turning, twisting is formed by the conflict itself. So where it is a cast in conflict, there may be no intelligence. Yet we think that only through the conflict we will become intelligent, fulfillment will be found, and reach the ultimate happiness or extreme. You can never learn to live wisely by collecting the conflict on. Let's learn to live wisely only when you understand the environment that is doing a conflict cry. You aren't using some solution to bring new condiments, but if you're observing, the mind immediately finds the substitution. We say this is because of heredity. This is the economic problem or the environmental responsible of the past. Or we rely on karma, rebirth, or evolution. For the conflict that we just regenerate, the mind is trapped, but we do not see where the conference came. Don't try to understand the real meaning of the environment. So the conflict is just until as long as there is reaction between environment and I. This is also the result of the environment. Environment can be made from economic or social condition, politics, neighbor, and I. More people are not aware of this conflict, which is made of environment, and environment is running between itself. People don't feel this continuous fight on the cast and strangle. Just a few people understand this collision, disharmony, and strangle. And he also gets deeper when the pain becomes too deep. Only when the pain is intensified you see you're inside conflict. But when you feel this conflict, more people immediately want a solution. When you become a fuller aware in that deeper moment of pain, an instant relief, an instant eyeliner, he begins to find every kind of escape to avoid pain, like release, excitation, meaningless things, and all the hidden sketches that we have created to save ourselves. The pain awaits you about this conflict, but you don't have to reach that fulfillment. because the pain is more likely than the brain makes. And when the brain is cursed, he begins to question with its environment. It seems to reduce intelligence from your condition, and in the same skilling, and just the same intelligence can take you that fullness to the true test of that life and to the true sense of pain. Intelligence works only when the pain becomes so deep that both the mind and the heart stops running. Stop escape from all the paths that you have made a great clever. Those who look logical, real, true. If you look at the meditation without bias, you will see that as long as you are participating, you are not facing the conflicts, and your pain is just making the ignorance more big. This means when you stop rushing through all these identified paths, the intelligence starts working in the deep moment of that pain. I don't want to give you any exam or a simile because I want you to think yourself. If I do the exam, I do all the things I think and you just hear. But if you begin to think that I am saying, you'll be able to understand that the mind has happened so much. Authority and escape have never reached the point of deep pain where intelligence has to work, and only if the intelligence works perfectly, then the entire complication of the conflict may occur. Conflict will always remain until we understand the environment. The environment gives birth to the conflict, and as long as we find new substitutes for them without understanding the environmental conditions surroundings, we're going to the other by participating in a conflict. But if in that deep pain moment where the conflict comes out in its pure form, we begin to understand the real value of the environment, if we question the environment in that moment, and then the intelligence naturally works. So far, the mind had joined itself with conflict, environmental, and escape. So the pain is constantly moving. I am traveling. But when the pain becomes so deep that there is no way to escape, only the mind becomes intelligence. Speak in another simple way. So as long as we're looking for a solution, everyone's wishes follow the authority. The brain is pasted by something to avoid the regeneration of the conflict in it. But if the mind is in an instant's journey where every escape has been closed, then the intelligence will automatically wake up and naturally works without force. If you test it yourself, you'll see that I don't let you think but tell a thing you can do with yourself. A practical matter has been imposed a lot of environments above you. Society, releasing, economic conductions, social divide, exploitation, and through politics. I which is inside you is made of all the same force and pressure. And now the same I is fighting with that environment. So is the conflict. No advantage of creating new environment, because the same old thing will come back again. But if there is a concussion pain inside the conflict, and there is always a pain in the conflict, but the human being is part of him and begins to find substitutes. If you stop finding the substitute in the moment of that intense pain and face the truth, so you'll see that the mind that intellis is the toll of the real value of begins to look at, and then you will understand that the mind is free from the conflict. In the mouth of that deep pain, it hides its own skin. This is the real way to understand the costs of the conflict. One thing to remember is that we say that it doesn't bring the intentivity to the solar system, but the increasing of the journey will eliminate itself. The brain is cursed only when it stops running, and no conflict will wake him until the brain is parting. Because escape never intelligence. In another short, all people are stuck in the journey and the conflict. More people don't know it. He is just looking for a solution, substitute, and escape. But if he stops finding escape and start quitting the environment that is bringing the conflict, the brain becomes sharp, becomes alive, becomes intelligent. Intellectualization becomes the brain in that intensity. And then he sees the real value of the environment and the piling that was crying to the conference. I know half of people do not understand that, but no matter. Think that you can do so much. Think of the true heart and see if I'm saying is true, but not to think that you just keep walking with the mind and finish the thing. If you really want to understand whether it is true or not, you have to take it to action. And to bring in action, you have to qualify the environment. If you're in the conflict, you'll have to look at your environment. But more people's minds have become so evident that they don't know that the resolutions are run behind escape and thirst. He puts absolutely perfect logic, but the logic is also just to find escape, and they do not even know it. If you want to understand the regeneration of the conflict, the brain will have to find it natural. Who the sharp thinking, and so you have to quit all the things that the environment's place around you, is your family, is your neighbor's religion, of your authority, and when you quit all of them, the against action of the environment will. The family is neighbor and is the state, and when you mean them, you see that intelligence is perfect. Don't have to learn it. When you are aware, it becomes a flower of awareness intelligence. The questioner says I is the result of the environment. Do you mean that if there is a perfect environment, then I will not have a conscience develop? If you are talking about perfect freedom, it becomes just a matter of creating the right environment. Is it right? SOUNTRY. Can ever be a perfect environment, is it? No. So let's understand this. Explore complete. What is environment? This complete human structure is made from the fears of human beings, desires, hopes, desires, and comforts. Now you can't create a perfect environment because every man keeps the new condiment scrambled according to his desire and thinking. But if your mind is intelligent, you can see all of these false environmentals, and so you are free from the conscience of I. Look at I consciousness. I think he is the result of the environment. What? I don't think much disconnection is needed because it's absolutely clean. If you give your home and give you everything you need, then you don't need to fill in your home. May someone else come to my sense. But now we're talking about a particular thing here. It did not happen in your case. That's why I have a sense of positivity, and it's the result of the environment. He is just a false reaction of the environment. But if the mind begins to qualify the environment, then the reaction does not happen accompanied by environmental. So we don't have to think about whether one can become a perfect environment. What is look perfect environment? Every man will answer you differently. Artists will speak something else, businessmen something else, actors something else. Perfect environment is the same for every man who sets him up, who did not make a conflict inside him. So the perfect environment means separate for everyone. That's why the perfect environment is not posable. But if there is an intelligence, there is no value of the environment. Because intelligence, then there is free from every condition. He works perfectly. The question is whether we can create a perfect environment. The question is how we wake up the intelligence that is absolutely free from the environment. Whether it's perfect or perfect, I say you can wake up this intelligence when you check the entire value of that environment, in which your mind is trapped. Then you'll see that you've been free from any of the pertinent environment, because now you are working intelligently. Environment you don't twist or shape doing. The question you're saying is that you're actually getting the same meaning when I see so evil in the world is a strong desire inside me to fight against him and against the suffering that he brings in the life of human beings means a big conflict, because when I help people and me forceful, then how can you say there is no conflict between truth and lies? I said yesterday that struggle is just two lies between things. But there is never a strangle between the truth and lies. It's really clean. Why? You may be badly invoked, because the man is ignorant. This does not mean that you should not fight, but you don't understand that it's right to fight yours. Watch every job, there is a natural way. Attitude of a spontaneous and sweet way without that aggressive valence. I am right. First of all, if you have to fight, you have to understand what you are fighting. This means you have to understand the basic fundamental thing and not to divide between two false things. Now we are so many concise. There are so many aware to the defenses between these false things, between the environment and its reluctance that we fight them. And so we want to make a change, but without the whole human life change structure. Meaning we want to save I consciences that are a false reaction of the environment and still want to change the world. The direct thing you want is your bank account. What are your things? You want to keep my feel, and still want the world to be like where there is no man and that concept. So real work is to see if you're dealing with the basic thing or just above things. The above thing for me will last until you are just in thinking of changing the environment and reducing the conflict. You are still holding the I. If you want to know that you don't want the eye contact fee, I say this superficial thinking, and it comes from the superficial action. But if you think at the basic level, mean you should queer the relapse of the environment yourself, that is, and so queer yourself to the environment, then you are working fundamentally and the same work is real. Lasting is a pleasure and a job that you do not know right now because you're afraid to act in the basic way. Question yesterday, you said that the environment is there is a false movement. Do you include all the creation of nature? As human form, does the environment not change continuously? Does it happen? For more people, because the change means to adjust constantly and so always be aware of the mind. More people just want to live in a stable environment, but the environment is going on as it is outside your control and it is false until you understand it. Do human forms come in environment? Then you separate them from nature. Why do I do? We don't have to worry about the nature as we've got control over it, but we are not able to understand what we have created a human environment. Think of the relationship between the human beings and the human beings, and all the conditions that the human being has created are not yet understood. Whether we have understood the nature from science to a great extent, we are not sure of the sustainability of the environment that we have understood, because as soon as you understand it, the conflict is over. We want security, emotional and mental, and as long as it remains security, so we are happy. So we don't ever have the environment. Therefore, the constant change of the environment becomes a lie that creates the distance inside each one. As long as the conflict means we haven't understood the conditions around us, and as long as we do not understand the environment, the movement will remain false. And the real meaning of it is only when the pain becomes too deep and you become a full eyewear in that pen. The question is clear to me exactly that I conscience is the result of the environment. On do you not see that this is not the first time start in this life? You say that I was in the past and will remain in the future. I know you want to bring this question to rebirth, but let's understand it. First of all, if you think a little, you will assume that I is the result of the environment. I don't have this important to have a past environment or a presentation. Environment is always the past. You did something that you did not understand. Yesterday you did something that you did not clear, and until you understand it you will continue to follow. You can't solve the past environment. As long as you are not fully aware in the presentation, it does not matter how much the brain is from the past or present condition. That's what you need to understand the environment, and only then the mind becomes free from the conflict. Some people believe that I was born in a very old time and will continue in the future. The thing for me is absolutely useless. No means. I tell you why. If the I is the result of the environment, if I just conflict and so, the mind should look at how to be freed from that conflict and think of maintaining that conflict. It is therefore not the important that the past environment has broken down the mind or the presentation is spoiling him or the birth of the I was very first. The matter does is that when you are in pain you feel that traveling perfectly. The moment of that intense traveling has the righteousness. That's the idea of karma. You know your karma means you are burdening your past today, meaning you take the environment of the past the presentation has come, and you control the future of the bird. Shape the future. If you think a little, this is obvious. If your brain is deteriorated due to the past, it will also worsen your future. For if you have not understood the environment of tomorrow, it will still continue today. And if you are not able to understand today, you will not understand tomorrow. If you don't see the whole sense of an environment or action, it spoils your thinking today. And today's action will again spoil tomorrow. This way you trapped in a vicious circle go. And because of this, people say that the rebirth of the rheumatoid or memories is through the rebirth of the brain. But I say the mind can be free from the past. The nature and obstructions of the past may be free from the future as you are alive in the present. In an instance way with the entire strength, you'll have to be completely freed from the burden of the past, and you'll have to do the attendant in an instance to be free from the past. How will I play in the future of Ujjayi, California, June 17, 1934? The dynamic society is a living society. Today we will answer some more questions about what is the difference between self-discipline and suppression. I don't think it's much difference in both of them, as both of them refuse intelligence. Suppression is a more hard form of self-discipline of repression, which is a simple way. Both mean compression and self-discipline are just trying to adjust according to the environment. A large visual adjustment occurs in compression, and second slightly soft form self-discipline occurs. The base of both is scared. Suppression is based on an obvious fear, and self-discipline comes from a fear that is either afraid of losing something or through the desire to get something. The self-discipline that you say is to adjust with just an environment that you have not fully understood. And when adjustment is without understanding, intelligence dies. Why does one need to disciplinate themselves? What is needed to force yourself to shield according to a pattern? Why do people go to different schools of discipline? What he says will move to the spirit, make more sense, or unfold thinking. You will see that the more you discipline the mind, the more it becomes. Please think of this. Bring no matter to the middle. Here I'm taking the same meaning of self-discipline which is in question, meaning to drive yourself according to a fixed pattern that has already been dissipated, in which there is a desire to get something. On the whole process for me in which one set of brains repeatedly the pattern is twisted, he finally breaks the mind. The mind that is truly intelligent is free from self-discipline, because intelligence is born only when you qualify the environment and realize it. In that sense, real adjustment is not a fixed pattern or condition. Think, what does a primitive man do? It contains no discipline, no control, no compression. He does what he wants. But an intelligent man also does what he wants on intelligence together. Intelligence never arises from self-discipline or suppression. The primitive man just runs behind his desire. But the intelligent man understands the means of the desire. He sees the conflict. The primitive man does not see. He just goes behind the digester and creates pain and discomfort. So there is both self-discipline and suppression beings for me. Both prevent intelligence. Test this in your life. Take discipline and self-discipline. Do not immediately redirect it. Don't speak that self-discipline is essential. Search the world will have cows, just as there is no cows in the world. And on the other hand, just let me say, don't get the agreement. I am telling you a thing I have experienced myself, and I have found the truth. Psychologically, or idle. A brain that is formed from a condition, as an animal is tied with a rope. He can only go to the same distance. The same condition is a brain that is tied to a biliary. That's the mind thinking only inside the limitation. So, the mind cannot really think. He can just add a limited adjustment inside the range of that rope. But the mind may not really think of the heart. Both brains and hearts are broken down by discipline, worsen, because she refuses both thought and love. That's why you'll have to accept. You have to see yourself how your thoughts and feel are working. trying to move them in a direction without any changes. Before the first move, understand how he is working, thinking, and feeling before changing the look at how he's running. And you will see that he is constantly adjusting inside that limitation which is set by desire and its fulfillment. Awareness does not have any discipline. Let's take an exam. Suppose you are a class-minded, be a class consier, have a little snowish. You don't know you're snowish. But if you want to know what you're like, how do you know? What happens again? Let you know that you're snowing. One of that understanding disturbance arises. A conflict, and the same conflict delivers that snowishness. While you just dissipate the mind that you're not snowing, you're having a new character that's atop of snow. And because he is the limit, he is also false and heartful. We've made different patterns, rounds, and tools. We follow the conceitually or the unconceituously. So we discipulate our minds and hearts on them, and then controls and perversions are essential. But if you question those links, start doing what the conflicts do, and this makes your intelligence awake. The intelligence is so much that it always moves and therefore never becomes a fixed point where there is a conflict. The question of which method we can come out of its limitation, or how we start the process of reorientation so that there is no conflict between two false things. First, you want to find method to avoid limitation. Why? What you ever felt? Why do you always ask a system? What does this method show? The desire to seek. Every method is meant to seek escape. You want, I said, a system for you to follow. The direct thing you want is to have a system that you can inject to the conditions that you are doing the conflict create, so that you escape from the conflict. Meaning you just want to adjust yourself according to a pattern to avoid conflict or environment. In this desire, there is a hidden method. There is no course of life. Demanding method means escaping. You asked how to rearrange so that there is no repeated conflict between two false things. First of all, you know that you are in the conflict. First, understand or whether you just want to find a place where and not a conflict. If you want a safe zone, don't have a condition where the conflict is, or you don't even know that you're in the conference. If you don't know the conflict, then why are you looking for a solution? If you are doing the artificial conflict by yourself, only because you are afraid that you are missing something, life will not miss you. If you think it's going to happen, then there's something wrong inside you. Maybe you're not normal. If you really are in the conflict, you will not ask me for a method. If I give you a method, you will just disassemble yourself according to that method. A pattern copy what I gave, and it will eliminate your intelligence. But if you are aware of the conflict, the pain in the awareness is deeper in the intensity, you will be able to deliver the real cause of traveling, which is not an understanding of the environment. You know that we have forgot to live in a normal way. You can't follow the method to go back to that simplicity. You can't be machined. But I think we all find method, because we think we will get fullness, stability, and safety. But the method. Spirituality means the total of intelligence. The question you say is a major change in human life. If a man does not want to make changes to his outer environment, to not give up his family or friends, can he inside change give him freedom from the conflict? First look at it. You don't think that a big change is essential in human life, or you're just set ifs like things go are. With the idea of your progress, evolution, the desire for success, and the joys that sometimes come when you really begin to think, a strong desire wakes when you really begin to feel. One of the major changes, one of the total changes. If you think it is necessary, then you will not have a family blockage. If you don't have an inside change, don't go out. Just change. Revolution occurs. But as you say, I do not want to hurt my family. Don't want to beat your friends or any system. Then you need to make real changes, not feeling. You just want to change the environment, and it's just a legacy that makes another false environment and lets the conflict move. I think we give a false excuse that we should not beat our family and friends. But when you have to do something, you should do it. Whether family or friends feel bad or not. What? Then you do not think that they will suffer. He is out of your control. Your feel is so strong. It's clear that it takes you beyond the realm of family, relationships, and bondages. But you begin to think about all of the family, friends, ideals, beliefs, trades, and things that the society has created when you are holding a safety. When you don't have real richness inside you, and you want to make the inside richness from the outside. But if you have a complete feeling of your pain that came due to the conflict, you do not fall into the bondage of any orthodoxy, friendship, or family. You just want to understand that what is pain or cause. If you want to understand the environment that makes this conflict cry, and then there is no personality left there, but you have to think about how you can go ahead and where you should stop. The true or understanding that God is head doesn't get when you stick to family trades or hacks. He gets when you are completely bare, absolutely free from your desires, expectations, and security. And that direct symmetry, it is a real life experience. Can you tell why the environment became false? Where did all of these problems begin? What do you think? Who created an environment? A miraculous God stops wondering who made this environment. The socialist idea that the server had you on the reach of the data, the fortune to the individual to support the environment. Whether the desire for security is financial, moral, or spiritual. In his affair, you created a capitalist environment that has nationality, is a class divide, and is an extension. We have created you and I. It did not happen from miracle. And as long as you continue to find security, you again became a new capitalist possessive system. Just her color and language will be slightly different, whether you delete this system, but as long as possession is, you will be born a new capitalist system. New names, new words with. The same is with the release, with their useless reconcilings, applications, and fears. Who made it all? You and I. We have created these for centuries, and they are leaning forward because of fear. We have created all the false environment, and now we have become his slave. And that false condition has created a false search for security that you say I and therefore always have a fact. And between this false environment, you want to know who made this mess because you want to come a redeem. Take a new haven that you have removed from this mess. Keeping your attitude, hope, fear, and desire. You have created this environment, so you have to break it. Await you that a system came and removes it. He will just make you a new system slave. What is communism? You will use new words, but your requests remain the same. Just the style will be different. That's why I said earlier, if the environment is forcing you for an action, it's not the action righteous may. Righteous action occurs when he is born from understanding the environment. So we have to become an individual aware. And when you become an aware, you have a very big cry. A society that is not just sitting in an ideal and therefore rots, but a society that always moves, never stops, never ends. Today's man sets a goal. The collapse is done when it escapes behind him, and when found, he always wants to reach around and then stops at the same stages. As a man is the same state. State also always tries to reach around, but a man for me should always stay in the movement. It's not always possible to be able to run behind a goal. Only those who have self-expression will always move. Question: do you believe that karma is an interaction between false environmental and false income? Watch, karma is a Sanskrit word that means taking action, and this means cause and effects. What is karma now is a bondage of karma. It is a reaction that means that the environment arises from which the mind did not explain, as I tried to explain yesterday. If we don't understand any pertinent condition, the natural brain takes the burden of the condition, the burden of the lack of understanding, and with the same drawback we think, act, and make more burden and more limitations. So we have to understand where it is lacking. How does a man stop understanding the whole meaning of the environment? Whether it's a past or a presentation's environment, and understanding that real sense, the mind will have to be free of cost. This is the most difficult task. Be really free from your bias, your thinking, your twist. View the environment from fresh perspective. It needs to be understood very much directly and clear. The mind of more people is left on the way of its vanity, the desire to impress others, or the desire to reach the truth, or the desire to escape from the environment, or to increase their conscience, says that he named spiritual, or walk through his national pride. All these desires prevent the mind. The real value of the environment is directly viewed, as well as the mind is left. First of all, the human beings have to explore their limits, and as soon as you begin to beware, there is a conflict. When you know that you really get an agent from the inside, or have a reward, if you feel that vanity, it's slowly over, because you're able to see her fullness. But if you just hide her, she makes more diseases and creating false reactions is. So to live every moment right now without the burden of past or present, without the lack of understanding of the memory. The mind should be met with everything in a new way. If you take the burden of the sustainability, face life, or with the vanity of the knowledge, then it is the denser. Because knowledge is also just the past. But when you go with a new plan in your life, you understand how to live without a conflict, how to live without a constant stroll. When you go away with life, you're a flowing wave with Ujjayi, California, June 18, 1934. Living in SC is a reality for me to live a happy life. Alive is a great truth, and it is important to be absolutely simple to think about it. What is simple is very deep. A softness that is simple is a result of a freshness. It has a great consistency, an infinite softness. And if you use words just as a way to reach that intoxication, so I think you won't understand what I want to say. If you mean words on a bridge, if you like, the word will not become an illusion for you in which the mind is lost. I'm saying it's a live reality. Whether you speak it God, speak a trumpet, or whatever it speaks, and it doesn't find reality. There is always a contrast wherever the search is. When the brain finds something, there is always a divide. But this does not mean that the mind should be just satisfied or stop. There is a softness, a balance occurs. He is not a staple. He is a staple. Try to get a goal. In that fresh balance, there is a simplicity. This is not a simplicity that you have just a few clothes or less stuff. I'm not talking about that simplicity. I'm talking about the symmetry that comes from a new thinking. There is no desire to find. As I said, the search means duality difference. You are glued to one side where the duality occurs, and this is why the composition is born. When we say we're looking for something, so it means that we are doing some receptacles and want a substitute that lets us do well, and in this process becomes duality, and it gives rise to duality computing. That is, you're trying to beat the other when you suck one thing. What? When you say you want to develop the new value, it's just a way to beat the old thing in which the mind is already stuck. This kawa is either from an interaction or by a forward, and it is from the interaction or the forward that cling is made influence on the mind. And the influence is not understanding. Influence occurs only if the divide occurs, such as class, race, gender, divide of nationality. When the brain tries to beat something, he or she cries the automaticity duality, and it eliminates the same understanding of the duality and commits all the divides. Duality influences the mind. Therefore, such a brain cannot understand the real piling of the environment or conflict. This psychological influence is simply the reaction of the environment from the center of the eye, which likes, dislikes, opposites are rich in antithesis. And understanding where it is opposites does not happen is possible. Influence classification is good and bad. As long as the brain is influenced and the influence traction is from the organites and contrasts, the love is the control or pressure of the intellectual society, it becomes obstruction in the way of pressure, understanding that the understanding is the true form of beauty, truth, and love. Now, if you're aware of this influence, you'll be able to understand your cause. More people just up from aware, there are no inside. Just when the awareness is up to the deepest level of the mind and the emotional level, you may notice how the influence divides and how it prevents the understanding of the divides. My memory has disappeared by listening to your talk. I don't remember my big debt. I'm doing a very blissful feel. Is it liberation? Ask the money you have to borrow. I think some of the confusions have been done with memory. I said that if you depend on memory, you're connected to and for your lot of companies. The memory will tell your activities because your activity simply calculated does not have a spontaneity. It does not mean that you cannot forget your debt. You can't remove it from your mind. It is impossible. He will live in all the conducts. But if all of them are influenza without you, if you have an accommodation, your conduct, shaping your life's thinking, it will make the influence and more limitation. And your intelligence will put a burden. As I traveled from India now, Australia and New Zealand went, the people found there, view new ideas, see new scenes. I can't forget them all, whether their memories are gradually faded. But if the reaction of those old things is interfered in the presentation, he can stop my understanding. If I stop my past experience, I can't live completely in the presentation. I can't go deeper into that moment. You react on the past because the presentation doesn't mean, or if you want to refrain from the present, you return to the past and live in the threshold of that old memories, and the reaction that emerges from memory is the presentation does not seem to be something special. So when you say my memory has gone completely, I think you just deserve the same place. You can't lose memory. But if you completely live in the present, in the depth of the movement you become aware, all of them are filled with hopes and desires that are hidden from the entanglement of the memory. Stop. If you are aware of this, if you find that obstruction deeply, not just above, a hidden memory that is the lack of understanding and the result of living incomplete is eliminated, and then every new hustle of the environment brings you new ways to think fast. The question you say that when the man fully understands his outer and inner environment, he becomes free from bondage and suffering. But if someone dies his close men, how can he be free from suffering? What is the secret of suffering in this case? What is suffering? Is the suffering not just a blow to the mind that gives him the feeling of his lack? When the mind is lacking, we are suffering. Believe you are depriving on your son, husband, or wife to fulfill that lack. When he does, but they love the feel is entering into the it is a live something of the first thing is that the people that even have moves or the ted visited independence. There is emptiness. On the surface, all look fine, but there is a shortage from the inside, and then the sadness and palpitations. But we don't want to believe that. We do not see that this is the real cause. So we say, I miss my friend, husband, wife, or children. How to get rid of this suffering? How to cross this loss? Every overcoming is just a subsidiation. There is no understanding in it, and that is why it hurts more. Whether you get a relief for a while, but it just gives the mind's look. If you don't try to win the suffering, if you go to the mediums or scientific proofs that say life continues even after death, so you'll get different paths from which you get the temporary relief. But if you have the desire to win, leave and wish to understand the whole truth about what is the true correlation of suffering and suffocation, you would find that you would have a as long as the inside is loneliness, shelliness, emptiness life that looks from the outside. And you cannot fill that shortage. Win an scale from any substitute or part of any that's just a smart trap so the mind that's just a dizzy to get something. Sadness is just a high clarity. The things that show you are like are the ones. But this doesn't mean that you're exempting or surrendering it. When you see things like it is a joy in the mirror of the truth that is intelligence. There is an XC. It does not have a duality or a division of loss. I am not saying this theoretic. If you understand this seriously and response to the first question with memory add together, so you'll see that the memory creates much more dependence. You constantly go into any emotional memories of the past. What you get a reaction and prevents your intelligence from living in a presentation. The question is what you will give some adwa to the person who is upset by strong sexual desire. When the creative expression of life does not occur, we begin to give a lot of sex, and he becomes a great price. So the question is not what I would like to do with advice or how you pose or sexual desire control. The question is how you release that creative living and don't just treat sex differently. What does it mean? What is her holiness? Through today's modern education, sarcasms, and environment, you have to do things that you don't like. You have to do on the job that hates you because you don't have the right skill training. Your work is preventing you. The sarcasm's shoulders are preventing you by expressing yourself fundamentally creatively. So the need of an outlet, and that's what the outlet becomes the problem of sex or drink or any other wasteful thing. And all outlets become problems or maybe your interest artist. Very few people are really artists. You may have a trend on it, but that trend is repeatedly twisted, stopped, pressed, and you have no way to real self-expression. So then either sex or any reliance oblation becomes more important or your ambies are prevented, the cuts are closed, and then the same natural things that should be normal will begin to get much more. So as long as you don't understand your alliances, politicals, economics, and social designers and their abscals, the natural things of life become the most essential in your life. That's why people like greed, possessiveness, sex, and caste and societies take wrongly and wrong values. But if you understand the whole look of life and completing the comes diligently, you'll notice that all the people that are owning the line that are eliminating the pay of life are all over in the intelligence net earlier and there's joyful the things I thought and follow things. But there is no job in my life, no anthology. My awareness attempts did not remove the condensation. No change brought nor energy. My life is just as little as I heard you first 7 years ago. What is wrong in me? I think it's not to say what I'm saying. Why should I take my actions before trying to take action? And what is my words and why is he my? I'm not giving you any book. No code, no system you follow. I'm just saying that if you live with creatively, joyful, intelligently, and full energy, your intelligence needs to be free. That intelligence has stopped because of the memory that is scattered and I've done the first expelling. Unless you are constantly in the fight to get a goal, the mind will remain duality until you are in an influence. And it will come with the pen, straggle. And what we're looking for at truth or reality is just the way to escape that pen. That's why I'm saying know that your hard work, your struggle, your old memories are distracting your intelligence. Being aware doesn't just mean being a conscious above. Rather, go to the depth of the whole conscience, where it cannot hide any uncognition reaction stay. It should think of all. Both minds and hearts should have full alerts. Neither the brain that has been filled with from beliefs, creeds, and ideals. More people are burdened with their brains, and there is a desire to follow someone. Don't say that you don't want the ideals, don't want the creeds, or do not retreat the same old lecture, because I must be or not. Saying becomes a new Yule, yet a new parish bus aware, and of that awareness the intensity will create a conflict in the burning fire that will itself eliminate the obstruction. I know some people come here every year and I try every year to explain these things differently. We are listening to you for 7 years. I don't think that just brain regenerating is the only ash. I'm saying that the balance is between emotion and regeneration occurs between oppression and thought and from the conflict of balance as it's not unchecked. But if you don't have the clarity of thinking and don't feel the depth of how you go, how will he generate balance? How this alertness will come in handy? Then life becomes useless without feeling. So the first thing you should do is to understand that you're thinking don't try to arrange your thinking. Don't analyze your feelings. Just be aware of why you're thinking about it. And your action comes from which motive is. Yes, you can understand some of the analyses, but it does not make real sense. The real understanding comes when you are intently aware. In the moment, when your little one is working an emotion, then you'll see their softness daily. Unless you that's why you've ended up wondering and feeling yours. You are bound by rules, methods, and your teachers, so leave it all. I must do and should not. It doesn't mean anything goes. Just get the aware that is always saying, I have to do or not. Then as a flower blooms in the morning, the intelligence blooms. He works and creates understanding. The question artist is often seen as a man who has an understanding of which you speak, at least when he is working creative. But if someone deletes it, he reacts very well and says it is my temperament is. But there is a clear look that he was not inflated in that moment. So did he explain the wicked if he returns to his I so easily? Is the man who is sometimes creative? If this is not the artist for me, the man who sometimes comes to creative impulse and expresses that creativity through technique. You can't say the artist. The true artist for me is the one who has completely won. Harmony has won. The art of your life no. The whole life of which is an expression, whether it's painting, music, or his day-to-day behavior. Those who do not separate their canvas, music, or stonework from their everyday life. This is only when there is high intelligence in it. Be the biggest hormonal. The true artist for me is in which it is hormonal. It can be shown or painted on canvas, or may not express anything, just feel. But it happens only if there is a delicate balance inside it. There is a strong awareness, and then his expression does not differ from his daily life. Let's be California, June 29, 1934 to be true human being. What we say happiness or XC is for me. Creative thinking. In creative thinking means thinking, i.e. the infinite movement to the estimation in action, that is when thinking that the estimation itself is the action. It moves freely without any stop-talk, without any influence from the background of a habit or trade, then the movement's creative. As long as the thinking is tied in a fixed idea or just according to the background, it just is limited, and such thinking is not creative. So, every thoughtful person has a question of creative thinking inside them. It's a creative thinking that is an infinite movement. There may be no limitation or conflict, and creative thinking does not occur on any of the results. But most of the brains run behind success. Want round. Put yourself to get something in a mold, and such thinking reiterates itself. But if the thinking is just going to understand, he is creative only without any goal. When thinking is adjusting to an influence or running from the background of a trade that has not been understood, then thinking is not creative. He is like an animal that is tied to the rope. Creative thinking that is freedom until it is limited or adjustment. Creative thinking never finds the result, as the result is always an exit between stopping and walking. But when there is no need to find a result, and it's only when it comes to thinking, it's creative. Creative thinking does not contain any division. Create a conflict between thinking, emotional, and action. And this division occurs only if you're looking for a goal or when you're getting sequin from the surgery. Action is also the same movement that is accompanied by thinking and emotionality. And this action is the relationship between the human beings and the society. That is the condition. The work is the operation. We call the fulfillment. When the mind works without a goal and thinks in a creative way, thinking becomes action, which becomes a connection between the individual and the society. If it is clear, simple, direct, spontaneous, and deep, then there is no conflict between the individual and the society, because the action itself becomes a winning creative movement. That's why I have nothing to think about the art name. Only creative thinking happens. There is no technology of thinking. Just have a spontaneous, intelligent function, in which regeneration, emotion, and action are in perfectly hormonal, not connected done. When thinking and emotionality are not behind a reward, a result, he becomes a real expert. What? In real experience, finding a result in a real experience is not possible, because she is the movement of creative thinking herself. For creative thinking, the mind has to be freed from the constantly environment that he hits, and he is an environmentalist. When the brain is behind the reward or chasing the round, he is stuck in the stagnation and the comfort, and then he needs a practice. Discipline is required, and that creates all the conflict. People think that they can make creative thinking by practicing an idea repeatedly. But if you look carefully, the practice is just the result of the duality, and the action that comes from the duality maintains the gap between the mind and the heart. Such action becomes a calculated, logical, self-protective component. If you're practicing in the pressure of discipline or circumstance, then it's just a change toward someone and a limited thinking inside action, then creative thinking from practice. Creative thinking comes when brains, emotional, and action are in a hormonal. That's if you're completely shy in an action without participating behind a reward. It comes from action intelligence. That breaks all the interruptions. What causes a lack of understanding on the brain? Where the minds and hearts are stuck in a lack of understanding or in connection. Thinking there is never really moving, and every action of it stands a new blockage. That is why the power of thinking is small. But if the mind frees itself, the way to understand the secrets, and that the same action becomes creative thinking if you act with understanding. Can you give any practical exam of awareness and choice in every life? Do you ask this question if you have a toxic snake in your room? Then you don't ask how to stay in intensive aware. You ask the question only if you do not know that there is a toxic snake, or you're absolutely unaware of it. Or if you want to play with him. Enjoy both her pain and fun. Listen carefully. As long as the brain hurts and pleasures, awareness is not alertness possible until trapped. That's when an experience gives you pain and happiness doesn't do anything. If you do something, the pain becomes more than it is. You don't do anything if it's too much, because there is no strong conflict. The action is only when the pain is faster than the rest. More people wait to increase the pain, then act, and at the same time he would like to find ways of awareness. They can't tell anyone. He is just waiting for the pain to grow so that pain's action them forced to take. And there is no intelligence when you act in the computing. He is just the pressure of the environment. That's why there's no tension, and more pens and conflicts come when the brain is stagnant. Let's take a look at the political solution. Any other war may come as it looks. In 2 years, in 5 years, in 10 years. An intelligent man can see this in advance and act. But the person who is stagnant, who is just waiting for the pain, waits for the cost to grow so that he has to do something neat. So, at that time his intelligence is not working. Awareness occurs only when both brains and hearts are tight. There are tensions. Let's say that you can't ever be complicated with positivity. When you see that the inside emptiness, that shallowness, always makes the dependent on someone, and what do your minds and hearts do when you realize it? Immediately, the craving comes to fill the emptiness. But if you're going to just accumulate after that realization, you see that no one in the accumulation creative thinking does not happen. And yet the mind is doing the same. That's why a conflict arises when you look at this contradiment, and that the conflict itself delivers due to the accumulation. If a statement understands you, how to show this understanding in a public affair, or he is removed from the politics itself. If he understood me, he does not consider the politics different from life. And I don't think it should be retire from politics. Today, politics has just become a tool for the application. But if you and the most important thing for me is to become a human being, not just an expert or an expert. The problem is that every expert is stuck in its field. Politician just in politics, moralist just in morality, spiritual guru just spirituality, and all see by separating each other. The complete structure of our society is built on the same, and its different experts get more case croat. If we can see the connection between human beings, politics, release, economics, and social life, so we don't work in visualistically different thinking. Millions are hungry in India. A Hindu nationalist says earlier we become a nuance and then we'll take this solution of hunger. But for me, we leave the nationalism, because the appetite is a world problem, and only hunger and rising from isolation is. So if a politician is just limited to politics, he will dissert more. But if he sees life as a whole in which there is no difference between race, nationality, or class, then he becomes a true human being. You may change the world if 2 or 3 people understand. Many believe that they understand themselves, and there are other people such as artists and scientists. Yet the world is not changed. How do you change the world? Don't change the world, what are you? Slowly and in a relaxed manner. However, in a definite way, speak, live, and influence that will come to your human. Is this a change that you thought, or something that would immediately change the political, economic, and linear structure? I think I never thought of the instant effects of action. If a rid should be right and long-lasting, there should be deep observance, thinking, and intelligence behind it. And there are few people who want to think creatively or from influence and bias want to be free. If you begin to think visually, then you can open the intelligently and not just have a connection until the intelligence occurs, and the same is the regeneration of the cows. 2. Can a man control his accommodations? If we are the total of our past experience at a time, and there is no visual self, can we act in any other way in addition to our inheritance, past training, and the stimuli we are working on? If so, how does the physical process change? Who else does it? Can a man control his actions? If he did not explain the environment, so no, he just sets in the pressure influence of the environment and does not have such action-reaction or just self-protection. But if a man begins to understand the environment, he sees his entire significance and value, then he becomes the owner of his act. Then he becomes intelligent, and then whether the condition is anything, he will always act intelligently. If we are just the result of our past at a time and not the spiritual self, so can we suck another way? What I said before is the application here. If the man just stares from the burden of the past, whether it is an invisual or relevant inheritance, it is just a reaction of the fair. But if he understands his subconciliation, i.e. his paste's accumulation, gets free from the paste, and when he is free from the paste, he is free from the pressure of the environment. At last, there is also the environmental present and the past. Human people don't understand the present as their brain is from the cloud of the past cover, and freeing the brain from the nocturnal hindrance of the past does not mean pushing the memory back. To be a full concierge in the present, and when you are completely concussed in the presentation, all the hinders of the past come to the surface. And if you are aware, you see their full meaning, and that's how you understand the present. How does a physical process change? The more I think the question is to ask how the action that forces the environment changes. Is it the man act in a particular way as the environment forced him? But if he understands the environment intelligently, then there is no resolution. There is understanding, and the same becomes understanding action. The question I have: one in a world where there is political, economic, and social coups, louses, and conventions restrict me. When my workers hit these things, I have to either break the law and take its consciences or press my workers. So what is self in the world? Is there an escape from discipline? Self-discipline is just the second name of the adjustment of the environment that is through the conflict. That's what I speak self-discipline. You have created a pattern or ideal that works like a computing, and you force your mind to fit into that pattern. What do you modify, control, and do so? You're defraying your creativity. You are suppressing your true effect. But if you start understanding the environment, then there is no repression. Just the adjustment you call self-discipline. So how to understand the environment? How to understand the complete value of it and piling? How to see what is stopping? First of all, fear. Fear is the regeneration of finding protection or security, whether it's physical, spiritual, reliable, or emotional. Fear will also remain as long as this search is on, and the fear creates a wall. The same wall conflict between your mind and environment is creeped in while you are just engaged in adjustments and modifications and do not understand the root of the fear. It will not end the conflict. Wherever security is looking for a sustainability or a goal that prevents creative thinking, the mind has to adjust. We call self-discipline, which is just a condition, copying a pattern. But when the mind sees that there is no security in accumulating things or collecting knowledge, then the mind gets free from the fake. And when there is no fear, mind itself becomes intelligence. And the thing that is intelligence does not discipline itself. Self-discipline is just there where there is no intelligence. There is understanding where intelligence is free from influence, control, and domination. Question: if there is no ability to understand the abstraction idea inside a person, how can you get tired of it? Simple is from the experience of traveling or repeatedly. But the price is that we've taken so many false values around us that we've left to think. And then what should we ask? How to wake up thinking. We have cultivated fears, and those fears are named virtues and ideals. The mind hides behind the same ideals, and the action also comes out of the same shelter. That's why it's not real hot or real action. He is just a reaction born from the fear that churns the mind. How to wake up thinking. Sometimes there is a big treasury like someone else's death or an accident or depression. They put you into the conflict. External sarcasms force you to act and don't have real hot access when you act with compression, because the action is also from the fear. But if you see that you can't wait for every time you come to a suspicion, when you start, understand the same concepts, then you get deeper out of the same environment. You don't wait for the depression to make you a virtual. Rather, you can free your mind from possessiveness and compression. The system we've created says it's right to pose, and the more you have created this system yourself, and you have now become the slave of that system. You are the second system can also be created, which is not based on positivity, but that new system will force you to live in a new way. What's the difference when it does the system? None. You're just pushing through the sarcasms or the law into a single direction. That's why there's no creative thinking. But if you start performing an intelligence function, you won't become a slave of any society. Whether it is positive or non-positive, there should be a lot of intentivity to free the mind on. Must have a constant alertness. There should be an observance that only the conflict commits. This alertness brings itself a disbursement, and when it comes to the crisis, it becomes a conflict instance. And if you're not escaping him, mind begins to think new. Thinks in a creative way. And the same thinking is the same real thinking. It becomes authority. California, June 30. Music 1934. Being open to the variable, to the truth. I think most people have forgotten the meaning of hearing. He takes his spatial problems and thinks his problem solved. To hear me will go. I think it would not happen. But if you've heard the right way, you'll begin to understand the whole, and your mind won't be confused in a spatial matter. So if you want to rest, I'm sure that you don't find any spatial solution or shouldn't treat your pain immediately. I can help you only, or you can help yourself only, if you start thinking in a new creatively. Don't make life a couple of different problems. Check it in a whole form, with a mouth that is not pressed by the pressure of the swear. If you every type of pen, disharmony, and traveling is created. Everyone wants something, but it is different, according to its environment, temperament, and upbringing. Your own upbringing, release, society, and there are some objects set on the basis of the economy, and now they are constantly participating behind them. And when you made an objective, naturally also comes some specialists that tell you how to reach that goal. That's why techniques, performance, and specialization becomes just a sense to reach your end. And to get to the end that you have set through your conditioning, you need a specialist. So your action loses your value itself, because you just want the result, not in the action that the intelligence and fulfillment occurs. Life becomes a medium, a school that only trains to reach a goal. Action becomes just a barrier to go to the objective that you have made through the society and the conditioning. So life becomes a big strangle, a conflict, not a fulfilling and rich experience. What is the end of life? What is the motive of life? It is in the minds of most people. Why are we living? What is round? You don't have to live in a presentation, so you need a future motive. But the man who really fulfills doesn't ever ask about the end, as the fulfillment is quite enough for him. But you don't get fulfillment. You don't get to live deeply, richly, complexly, so you find around. If you think, you can move life towards that goal and then make life a major, make a way to reach that end. Whether there is a concilia or unconspicuously, you begin to find ellipse, and everyone gives you an answer to you. If you ask an artist, then he bulga life's motive is self-expression. Through painting, music, or poetry, the economist is the motive of life to work. The production corporation will live in a group and find a release good realize in the recording live of roles that teachers and prophets tell you. Every specialist will give you a separate line and you will become a safe place for you to create your dogma in accordance with your template and imagery. In this world, you will have your experience on the basis of those ideals. Let me head and just try to understand the corpus of the environment, without understanding what is the fulfillment. And when you begin to find the ellipse, the lens of your conditioning is saved from the real conflict of living. You don't want understanding, you just want escape. We have divided life into different parts: ideals, motives, floors, achieved, end, and trouble. On the other hand, confrontation, tearfulness, restlessness, and on the third side with your own thinking. There are three pieces of life. You are stuck in this confrontation, and this confrontation, this pain, a floor passing through this trouble, is reading a motive side. If you want to reach a safe place while sneezing this trouble, that you have kept the ideal or round. And this ideals, this rounds, this refuge is made all of it through economic, reliability and spiritual experts. So, if you go through a side, this environment has been parting with this trouble, and on the other side of the rounds that have become a safe place for you. You are thinking about the motive of life because you are not able to be intelligent in the present. The person who is completely active is not just a biji, but an emotionally and intelligently alive has become an ality fulfill. So there is no end or start of life. Life is a constant movement of creative thinking. And what you say to the prophets is the result of your same strangle in which you want to reach one end. Your life is liked. How to get rid of this troll, how to win it, how to dig it, and the same perfect escape is called the ideal or pappus of life. And when you win, escape, think of reaching if you are innately, you should have systems, leaders, gurus. I have all this applicators, systems, their teachers, their computing, their cleverness, their promises and betrayal. It's all different sects and curts. If you want to maintenance, want to resume, but you don't understand myself, neither the goal that you are desperate or unsatisfied. And as long as you do not see yourself, you will be stuck in the small rounds of others, their jealousy, their rowels. You just take that strangle and don't have to do it. What are you and how to act in that strangle? So struggle and you have the same thing for me. This different parts are made by yourself, and for the benefits caused by the likes of the vine, the base of which is the emptiness of your inside. When you think you don't have anything, you start thinking about how to become something and start from the moment. This division is not saved by you and your goal, but when there is a fulfillment. Not only is a creative thinking flow that doesn't look for a ridge, just one that continuously and is the same, immortality, but you've diverted life. Now think this is the center of the conflict, this actor, this observer. This is just a long memory roll. I have a few high points and take some. These are the highs and lows that you say, the complexes and the ones you act. When your mind feels its lack, then runs behind Jen and is from the same division. If such a mind cannot understand the environment, it has to be brought to the memory. Memory is just a collection of experience that guides your actions, one on the side of the preset round, and what it is round is a self-protection that you have named the ideal God, perfection, or truth. The bill lighting and you and the round. All of this are the built-in illusions of his self-protective mind. I told how it makes a self-protective mind. When you realize your emptiness, you begin to think about the gain and achievement, and the same thought divides life and limits your actions, and you both become. This self-protective mind's product and terminal conflict disharmony are all born with the same self-protection. Whether the spirit is or the economy, you are looking for security. You will understand the things that you think by accumulating. You will have fullness and you will feel complete. That's why the current people are spirit or the economics take advantage of you, because both should power and they show increased self-protection. Every mind is trying a tremendous way to save yourself, and the end that is the way you're in, that you all this is just the process of self-protection. And when it comes to self-protection, it is only to have a conflict with circumstances which you call the society. You're trying to save yourself against group society, but it is not true. That's if you'll skip to protect yourself. It doesn't mean you'll lose. If you're projecting yourself because of your lack or thinking, so then you will lose yourself in the vow. But if you just leave self-protection because you're thinking, if you'll find the truth from this way, it's also another way to select. After generation, for centuries we have created a cycle of spiritual and economic self-protection. Now let's ask if the spiritual or economic self-protection is real and walkie. Perhaps at the economic level you show self-protection for a little time. Those who have money filled with features are often very weak from the inside, and the so-called runs behind the spiritual protection. But the truth is that economic security is an illusion. Depression, crisis, war, and disaster all over the world has shown that there is no economic security. So we are participating in the side of spiritual security. I have no security, no spiritual or economics. I have just one thing to do. From protection, that makes sense. Self-protection is born from a lack in which there is no intelligence or creative thinking, is just a confrontation between you and the society, and the same current people benefit you. As long as self-protection is followed, there will be a conflict until the conflict is understood, neither the iron nor the iron. And it's just another power or security game to find your true spirit or God, as long as your Atud is. Just when the mind is hidden behind the walls of its retained protection, when he frees himself from those walls, only then he feels the real beauty of the truth. This wall is created by your minds who stand this protection by feeling their lack and hides behind it. The walls you have circle or unconsciously is created, and your minds have so much tied that every action creates just more conflict. So just find the solution of your problems. You won't try with the new problem. As long as the center of self-protection that is born from the lack until he is alive. Until then, there will be disbursement, pain, and discomfort, and you cannot eradicate that deficiency. You think I'm shale from the inside. How to remove it? I do not try to remove what I say. It becomes just a substitute. Just become aware. Check that this reduction, where is it? You can't wipe it out. No ideal in the game of fear or happiness. You can only know what it is because of lack. When you ignore your environment and look at the hidden layers inside it, you will understand how many tricks in healing are. Self-protection is the result of lack, and your mind is tied in conditioning for centuries. You can't delete it by discipline. If you've missed the layers of false safety of those emos and things let your mind hide behind, you just have to be aware to understand them. Awareness does not mean you change something immediately. Modify everything you have in your mind habit. What you say is adjustment, discipline, change. But there is no modification in awareness. Only the understanding of it is in a whole way. Just when you burn the walls of these protection into the fire of the awareness, you will be able to understand the real meaning of the environment and its hidden layers and shortcomings. The truth that comes within only is the eternal, because there is no one you have in it that is protecting yourself until the self-protective center that you say is alive will be the confusion. There will be a distribution. You cannot eliminate these obstacles by following this system from discipline or copying any other. You can only understand when both mind and heart are completely aviared, and then comes a bliss, the flow of a one trumpet that is no end. Just a persistent living movement is that joy, the XC that cannot be left, because everything is disassembled, is eliminated. As long as you aren't able to really be able to, there is no extra nexi. It's not an everlasting, but it's not an everlasting, but it's not an everlasting, but it's an important thing to do. In this part, some of the scriptures of Krishnamurti have been given, which have been published in the name of the commentary on living in 3 volumes. Here are the things about education and young generation, education and the significance of life and life ahead. And there are also freedoms. In a book, the introduction of which was written by Elds Hagley, the first and last freedom, perhaps the most personal and reveling things, are derived from their journal and Krishnamurti to himself, in which they have often touched deepest mystical sources of their teachings. The first and last freedom, talking to each other, is very difficult to know each other. The word I am using means something else for you. The understanding comes when you and I meet at the same level. It is only when among people love is true, between husbands or between close friends. The same is the real conversation. Immediately, when we meet at the same level, it is very difficult to talk with a clear action easily from each other. I'm using simple words. I don't think any technical methods can solve our difficulties. So I won't use the technical word of psychology or science. I have read a book of psychology, not religious books. This is my luck. I want us in daily life simple words use. Some of them may be deeply understood, but it's only possible when you're listening to. There is also an art of listening. Humans have to keep all their bias, thinking, and daily thoughts in the side for real listening. When your mind is in an open state, the matter is easily understood. You are listening only when you have a complete focus on something. But most of us hear through a screen. He is the screen of our prejudices. Whether it is reliable or spirit, be psychological or psychotropic, or the tension of our daily want and be afraid, and all things become a screen and we hear from behind him. So we don't really hear the front one, hear the voice of his own mind. It is very difficult to put your training, bias, habits, resistance in the side, and they went beyond the verbal matter to hear that they immediately understood. This is our biggest price. Just listen if there is anything you think about during this conversation. Don't register. You can be right and I wrong, but we can know the truth if we both listen together and think. You can't find the truth. You have to find yourself, and your mind for him should be in a state where you can see it straight. Straightness is not possible when there is resistance, safety, or protection inside. The understanding comes in handy when we are just as it is without having to smash him or her without smash. It is the beginning of the irony. When we interpret or think of our bias, we really go away from let's go. This is exactly like research. To know something like it is really, research is needed. You can't understand your mood. In the same way, if we can see, observe, listen to, be aware that is exactly the way it is, the price ends. And we are going to do all of these discourses. I'm just going to show you what I'm going to change my Pisces in my way. And you shouldn't make sense of your background or training. Is it not possible that we all see things like that? The beginning of understanding is the beginning. It's the end of the struggle to know what it's doing. If I know I'm false and I assume that the strangle is over, accepting what we know is the start of wisdom. The same is the beginning of understanding that gives you free from time. Time is not the time of the watch but also the time of the psychological process of the mind when we bring in the middle. It does the condensation and the destruction. We only understand what we do when we without blemishes, without restoring them, do not use it. Knowing that human being is in a perpetual condition or state is a freedom process. But the man who is unaware of his condition, his strangle, tries to become something else and becomes the same habit. So let's remember that we want to see what's actually observing that thing and seeing as it is without any angle. It is a very cursed mind and a soft heart that can look like there are things, because it is always changing, always taking a new shape. And if the mind is stuck in ability or knowledge, he cannot follow that change. He cannot walk with what is going on. What is never the beans? He is always running. If you look carefully, you will find out. Your mind should be fast to walk with him, and your heart should be flexible. And if your mind is stake in the belief in any thought in an identity and your heart is dried, you do not follow it fast. I think it's clear that there's an individual and group level confusion pen and coups everywhere. Not only in India, China, America, England, Germany is growing sadness and condensation everywhere. It's not just the national, it's not just here, it's everywhere. There is a lot of intent traveling, and it's not just personal but also active. This is a global treasury, and it is worth limiting it to the colored area of just a map. We don't understand the real piling of this worldwide and personal pen if we do so get. What is our response today considering this condensation? How do we react? Sadness is political, social, reliability. Our whole psychological seating is confused. And all leaders have failed political and reliability. All books are eliminated. Whether you read Bhagavad Gita or Book Bible or latest politics or psychology, you will see that the truth of them has gone. He has become just words. You are confused and not sure that you reap the words, and just nothing to reap words. So he did not live any value of words and books. If you do a Bible or Marx or a Bhagavad Gita quote and you yourself are unhappy, you are conferred and you are lying to repeat yourself. Because what is written is just becoming a propaganda and the propaganda is never true. So you stop understanding your own state when you reap. You're just hiding your confusion with the words of authority. But we have not come to it. We have come to understand this fusion. Do not hide from the quotation. So what is your response? How do you see this cause, this confusion, this uncertain life? Feel it. As I'm talking, do not follow my words. Follow the ongoing thoughts inside you. Most people have just become spectators. Dame is not foreign. We read books, but never writes. It has become our habit. Just keep watching. Be a football game or a political spike. We just stand out and lost our creative power. So we want us to now we go forth, become part. But if you're just looking, just be the spectator. So you'll lose the real piling of this discourse as I don't give you such an information that is found in encyclopedia. We're trying to follow each other's as deep as possible. Understand the signals and responses of your feelings. So let's look at what your own response is for this pen, not for any other words. Your response is indefinite if you're taking this journey from this cows, whether it's economic, social, political, or psychological. So you have any problems? Know that if it's as much as it's going on, the more chaos is in the world, the more human being finds security. You have not noticed when condensation occurs on every side in the world, even in mind and in every way. You've closed yourself in any security, either with a bank account security or an ideology, or you go to the proprietor, go to the temple that is actually participating in the world and are becoming more says, and the new jams are coming out everywhere. Because the more confusion occurs, the more you need a leader. No one who you got out of this mess. Therefore, you go to the reliability books or act on a new teacher or in accordance with a system that seems to solve the problem of the left or right. That's what is happening. When you discover the real reality of the condensation, you immediately begin to escape from it. The sex that gives you the system of training, economics, social, or reliability, the most dangerous is because the system becomes important is not human. Whether it is a reliability system or a left or right, the system becomes important. Philosophia becomes important and not humans. And for idea, for ideology, you get ready to sacrifice the whole humanity. And this is happening in the world. This is not just my interpretation. If you're observing, you'll notice that exactly is happening. The system is important. So when the system becomes important, then humans are you and I, we do not mean any. And those who control the system are reliably or take the power of social left or right. You become an authority and you make senses to the individual. That's what is happening. Now think about what is the cause of this confusion pen. How did this pen come? This journey is not just from inside, even outside. This fear and loneliness. What is the cause of the Third World War coming? This clearly shows that all moral spirit values have been eliminated, and only the sense of sensual value remains is the things that are made by hands or mind. When we don't have any other value, what is the value of things that come from the sense, or what happens to the mind or hand or machine? The more we give the sensual value of things, the more confusion increases. What? I'm saying this is not my concern. You don't have to code a book to understand that your value, your money, your social and economic life is based on everything which is made of hands or mind. So we live, work and complete a stasis is immersed in a sensual value. This means things have become important. The things that are made of mind are handmade, made of machine, have become the same important. And when things become important, belief becomes the most significant. And this is happening in the world. What? So, giving the value of the senses much more and more becomes the regeneration of the confusion. And when the confusion occurs, we try to escape from it in different ways. Whether it is reliable, is economic, social, or through the ambition, power through or through finding reality. But what is real is the same. No need to find it. And the man who finds the truth never finds him. The truth is the beauty of it. But as you think of him, as soon as you run behind him, you begin to strangle. And the man who strangles cannot understand. So we must be calm, see, stay a passive aware. We see that our live action is always in the area of the distance, in the area of sleep. As a wave confusion and cows always take us are. No gap in the confusion of life. Whatever we are doing today leads to the case. He leads to sorrow and unhappiness. Watch your own life. You will see that our living is always on the side of the solar. Our job, our social activity, our policies. Meeting and stopping the war takes everything else. Behind the living always hides the destruction. Whatever we do leads to death. That's actually happening. Can we stop this misery immediately? Always in the wave of confusion and sorrow stay stuck. Large teachers like Buddha or Christ came. He exacted feet, probably freed yourself from confusion and sorrow, but they never stopped sorrow. He never eliminated confusion. Confusion moving, sleeping. If you do this social and economic confusion, it takes yourself to so-called release this life and leave the world. You think you have become part of these great teachers, but the world keeps moving the same with its cows, misery and destruction, always traveling of rich and poor. So, if we can come out immediately from this Egyptian, if you are denied to become part of the system by living in the world, then you will help others to escape from this cows. It is a real problem today. The war is to come, and also in the destructive and also in the expelling form. We think we can't stop it because it is a very strong and very close. But you and I can see this condensation and misery immediately. What? We must see them. Only then we can understand the truth in anyone else. How can you get free? Because the same is a way to come out of Egypt. Perception occurs only in the presentation. But if you say, I will do so, the wave of the confusion takes you and you are always confused in the confusion. Now it is possible that you come to a state where you immediately see the truth and end up this confused. I say it's possible, and that's a way. I say it can be, and should be. It does not assume or be said on the belief is bringing this extraordinary resolution that is not to bring another group of capitalists removed. This is a true solution that is a real conversion. Those who say normal revolution just have to make the right a bit modestly. Left is actually the only condition of the right in a slightly different form or degree. If there is a base on the right sensitive value, the left also holds the same sensual value. Just slightly compression is different. So true revolution can occur only if get invisible in your relationship. The same society with your wife, your child, your boss, your neighbor who you are in your relationship. Society is nothing in itself. Societies are what you and I make from my relationship. This is the outer projection of the psychological state inside us. So if you and I don't understand myself, just change the outer world, that doesn't make any sense of the inside. There may be no real changes in the society unless I consider myself in my relationship. If I'm confused in my relationship, I build a society that is confused as me. This is a simple fact that we can disassemble. We can disclaim that the society created me or I created the society. So whether it is not a clear fact that what I am in my relationship makes the same society, and it is not impossible to change the function of the society without changing itself deeply. When we try to change the society from a system, we are part of the actual question. Because the system can never change the human being, human system changes. It also shows the history. As long as I don't understand myself in my relationship with you, I am a regeneration of cows, misery, destruction, fear and cruelty. Understanding yourself is not a matter of time. I can understand myself now. I'm bringing chaos and misery if I say yesterday. My action becomes destructive. I will understand when I say. So I take time and get stuck in the wave of condensation and destruction. It is right now. Yes, yesterday happens to them who are lazy, those who are slow, who not interested. When you are interested in something, you immediately get into it. Quickly understands. Instant changes. You will never change if you don't change right now. Because it changes tomorrow, it is just a little change. He does not have a real transformation. Real transformation occurs only immediately. Revolution is now. Yes, you don't have any problems when it happens. Because the self leaves to worry about himself. Then you go beyond the wave of the destruction. Ambition baby cries all night and the child was trying to make him silent. She sang but it did not work. Perhaps the baby's teeth were out and the night was too tired for the whole family. But now the dark trees were being removed from the cross and finally the baby was silent. As the sky is light, a strange peace was laid. The branches of long trees were clearly visible. Sin and nude. Screaming a child, a cut a dwarf, went a truck and began a new day. After a while the mother took the baby out carefully wrapped and walked forward to the village, passing through the road where he was just weighing. He was taking him to the doctor. He looked very tired and depressed after night waking up. But the baby was sleeping in a deep sleep. The sun in a while came over the trees and the green grass began to shine in the dew. The whistles of a train away and the far mountains are cold and full of shadows. Blow up a big wing loudly, for we had deleted his Asiana. We came there very suddenly. So cover it with your egg leaves the time is not found. There were more than a dozen eggs. Even if he was open, but barely looked, he concealed them so clean and now he was looking at us from a tree away. After a few days we saw that mother with her children and the nest was empty. The way was cold and slightly dark that went from the wet jungle to the far mountains and the vet's flowers were bloomed. A few days ago, the ground was soft and wet. There were small potato farms and there was a city in the valley below. The day was gorgeous and golden. The way across the hill goes back to the house was. He was very smart. He read the latest book. The latest place was seen. And there was a well-informed about the craze of a new philosophy. He was diagnosed with psychology as he had read his language well. He tried to meet all the important people and the casualty came here with someone. He spoke easily and spoke to his words with style. He was married, but there were no children. And all this is now left behind him. And now he was on a newborn think she was rich it was because there was a wife with different people around him. How do you help the world? It was a fixed question. Then he asked about the effects of war Frockney communism from even more interest and the future of the human being. Is wars growing disasters and pens not our daily life results? Is not all of us responsible for this crisis? The future is only in the present. How will the future be different if the presentation is not understood? But what you don't think is that every man is their part of this conflict and confusion. But what happens by considering this responsibility? What value of my little action is between this big destruction? How can I change the slowness of the world? What is happening in the world is the total stolidity and my intelligence cannot change it. And think how much time will take to insert the visual action into the world. Is the world different from you? Didn't we build the structure of the society? Do you and me if you have to deepen the structure shouldn't change yourself deeply? If you have a real change of value, you should start with us. What? Do we need a new ideology to help in today's crisis? A new economic plan? We must first understand our inside conflict and confusion, which is the projection of the world. Can new ideology bring unity between humans and humans? Does the billives not ignite one another? Don't see any bias directory to our problems without removing our ideological walls need. We are never in direct relationship with our price. Always look through a billy or formula. Problems are only solvents when we have a direct face-to-face. Problem does not divide us. What are the ideas about us are different. The prophet brings us together, but the ideas make us different. Why do I ask you about this crisis? Oh, I do not know. I see so sad. So the Egyptians and thinks should do something. Are you sure, or just a few is there an ambition to do? When you say, I am ambitious to do something that I can be sexy, there are few people who are true in their thinking. We want to be successful either for ourselves or for the ideal that we have added ourselves. It is our own model. He is the product of our mind and our mind experiences in accordance with his conditioning. We work for our own created projects. Work, die. Nationalism also like God's blessings just a way to make yourself bigger. In real or in the level of idea, we are the only ones we own, not a destruction or misery that is ongoing. We do not want to do anything about this crisis. It has become just a new topic for smart people or for those who are socially active or idealists. Why do we contain ambitious? There is nothing in the world if we are not ambitious. If we are not ambitious, we are walking in horse trains today. Second name of ambition progress is. Without progress, we get rotted, finish. But we're also creating wars and pens. Is ambition a progress? Now we're not talking about progress, just talking about the ambition. Why do we contain ambitious? Why do we want to become successful? Why try to become someone? Why so strangle to become superior? Why so hard to prove yourself, whether erect or through any ideology or state? Is it just the effect of our contact, and is not the root of the confusion? Will we end if you are not an ambition? Can we do not physically service without an emblem? Who wants to serve without success? Do you want to think about it? The crease of seeking collapse does not bring the conflict both inside and outside. Is it free from ambition mean to rot? Do you stop living without a conflict? We can give drugs to ourselves from Billif, from Doctine and say there is no deep conflict now. No more people, the activity is the same intoxication. Obvious, such a state is rotting, snoring. But when we see falls as falls, does it die? Understanding that the ambition may be for joy in any form, for God or for success brings the conflict both inside and outside. It does not mean that life or action ended. Why we are ambitious? If I don't stick to trying to get some intriguing, you'll be bored. First I was ambitious for my handpan, and you would say he was only for me. Handpan through. Now I am ambitious for myself, through an idea. I never thought of the ambition, just have always been the emblem. Why are we so smart and embossed? Is there a way to escape? What is it? Isn't this smartness really stolidity? What we are? Why are we so afraid? What is the benefit of the part? That's when we're there. We may be escaping, but what we are there is still there and produces conflict and moody. Why are we so afraid? Your loneliness from his emptiness, he takes sorrow and clashes to run away from what is activity. Conflict means the incarnation or escape from it. And there is no conflict. Our conferences become so complex and impossible because we do not face the directory from what we have. There is no complexity in what is. Complexity is just in the paths that we are participating in it. The invisual and the ideal. Our lives have been broken in India. We want to make something again, but don't understand where to start. I also see mass action Keans and also her dangers. I follow the ideal of nonviolence, but still bleeding. People are suffering. The hands of this country are blood-sedged after the partition. And now we are the army build. We talk about nonviolence, but let's prepare the war. I am also confused like political leaders. When I was in jail, I read quite books, but I couldn't help clear my position. Do we talk one by one and go a little deeper? First, you insist much on the individual, but does not necessarily have a collective action. Individual is really active and the society is the creation of individual. Individual and society are linked to each other. What? He is not different. Individual itself creates the structure of the society and shape the society or environment individual. Whether the environment conditions the individual, but he can always free himself, can be different from your past. Individual itself is the environment creates which he later becomes slavery. But he also has the power that he is separated from him and creature a new environment. Don't make your mind or spirit aside. Individual is only the important when it has capacities to be free from its conditioning and the reality of understanding. If the individual is just making a ruthless in his condition, he creates a society that is based on violence and hat rate. Individual only exists in the relationship. There is no sense of it and not to understand the same relationship conflict and confusion is generating. If the individual does not understand his relationship from the people, from the property, from the idea or belief, then it eliminates the real goal of imposing any collection or pattern on it. Mass action is required to apply a new pattern, but the new pattern is the invention of some selected visuals, and the mass just gets the hypnotized from the new slogans. Mass remains the same old mass. The same congestion is just new ones. New words, new press, new rule. This month is you and I, this crowd individual is a group. Mass is a fact name. Leaders and politicians use for their benefit. A few people put the mass in action, send to war, and it is only a few people who show the desires of the month and the urge. The real instant thing is the transformation of the individual, but not through a pattern. Patterns always condition, and a condition is always confined from the inside, and therefore it is easy to replace an old pattern from the society even with new patterns. But every condition of the individual freeing from a different level is a matter of it should be very careful and deep thinking. But I think I'm thinking a little. You emphasize the individual, but not as if he is a separate age in the society. Now the second thing, I'm always working for an ideal, and I do not understand why you refuse him. Do you make this issue a little more expelling? Our today's morality is based on the past or future, either trade, pay, or whatsoever. What is the ideal that should be which is the next of the past, i.e., future and conflict in the past? Non-violence is an ideal that should be, and what was the violence? Which was the same project that should be. Ideal is made of our own. He comes out of his auspices. Aesit is part of its aesit. When the mind is valid, he makes his aesit. Ideal of non-violence. It is said that ideal eliminates its aesit. But what does he do? Is it not a way to escape what was, or what is it? Conflict between actual and ideal is just one of the reasons to avoid understanding the actual the way happens, and this conflict takes a new prologue that hides the present problem. Ideal is a response at escape from non-violence. Ideal, like collective utopia, is a fiction. Ideals that should be. The truth that we help us to escape from that thing. Finding the reward meaning behind the ideal. May you be aware of the rewards of the world, waste and barbar and leave it. Anyway, but your escape behind the ideal is to find another level reward that is as much as possible sucks. Ideal is a vibration, a fake state that mind has made itself. When the mind is a valent, separates, just for yourself, a sukkung giving false dream makes. What he says ideal, utopia says, the future says, and runs behind him. That's what to do. But it also has a fun which becomes the way to escape from the aquatic. Ideal does not help to understand what is in any way, but prevents him from understanding. What you want to say is our leaders and teachers were mistaken that pushing ideal. What do you think? If I'm making the right understanding of you, the pledging thing is not to understand anything else. What is the truth? He find himself. True, no opinion occurs. True does not depend on a teacher or leader. Opinions don't get true, but they stop seeing the truth. This is a fake thing that keeps your aesit inside or not. There are two ways. It does not depend on a teacher. You have to see the truth of yourself. If ideal is false, my whole thinking will be overturned. Do you want to say that it is absolutely useless to run behind the ideal? It is a fat of a waste, a relaxing self-feeding. What? That's what it's going to hear. But I believe it's right. We've thought that it's never seen in the hands. We've betrayed ourselves, and what you're saying, he shakes my entire thinking and structure of action. It will change the way to live life, how to work. I think I am gaining an understanding of a mind that is free from what ideal needs. The action for such a mind is completely different that we give now. Vibrantatory action does not occur. That's just the reaction, and we're referring to the same. But if ideal is not only how to deal with what it is or how it is with what it has happened is possible only when ideal is removed from the mind. Meaning that when the lies find as a lie, which should not be a kind to, as long as the mind exchange the positive or negative vibrations go with, so as not to understand the aquatic. You must have a direct connection with him to understand the actual. Your relationship cannot be through the screen of the ideal. Not past no trade shows. Being free incorrectly is the real problem. This means understanding the conditioning that is minded. Problem is my own mind, neither his or her made problems. Solving mind-made problems is just patching the effects that brings more confusions and illusions. Tell me how to explain the mind a little bit. Mind is the way of life, not the life of the heart, but the real life that is filled with pain and happiness and clarity, pure and false humility. Understanding mind means to look at the desire and fear. The plague is getting a little more for me. How do I understand my mind? Let us know. If you have to know the mind, shouldn't you be exposed to your activity? Mind is just the experience, not only but all the deposits. Reaction on the presentation of the mind past that makes the future. Understanding the whole process of mind. Where should I start? From where the relationship may begin. Relationship is life. Being means reeling. Mind can be understood only in the mirror of the relationship. And you have to start looking at yourself in that mirror. Do you want to say that the relationship with neighbor with my wife begins? Is this process not too limited? The same looks deeper if it looks smaller or limited. It's like a funnel that narrow is wide opens in. Limited also shows the limitless when the work is seen peacefully. There's a small stream that does not pay attention to when the river starts. I have to start with myself and from my surrounding relationships at all. The relationship is never short. Whether there's a relationship with one or with everyone is a complex process. You can approach it with little thinking or even from open heart and dip it on the state of aproc mind. Where else will you do if you do not start yourself? Whether you start with an outer thing do. There is a relationship between you and mind is the center. Whether you start with a pass or you are always there. If you don't understand yourself, whatever you will do will bring confusion and sorrow. The beginning is the end. I'm very far away. I've seen a lot done. I also laugh, like weep, and I had to come back to myself. I'm like the trustee who went out looking for a trumpet. For years, the teacher has been walking from the teacher and telling everyone a different way. After all, when the house came back he saw that the diamond was looking for was in his own house. I now understand how bad we are. In the whole world, he finds Sukwen who gets in his heart. When mind is cleaned with its activity. You're saying perfect. I start from where I left. I start from where I am. Fear and escape. We're a steady crime. But there was no movement feeling. The bottom was the seaside of a large clouds, white and glazed waves like eyes to be seen. The clouds seemed so solid and fried. Sometimes when we reach the height and grow up in the circle, there are some breaks in this glossy foaming and see the green ground quite below. The above was a neat blue sky, cold winter, soft and without limitation. A long range of large mountains covered with snow spread from north to south, which was glowing in sunlight. This mountain was above 14,000 feet, but we came up with them and still went up. It was identifiable and looks very close and quiet was. The high peak was in north and we went out to south. Because the height of 20,000 feet was found, the money that was next to me turned out to be a lot. He did not recognize this mountain, and when we were going up, he was sleeping. But now he was awake and was ready to talk. He was going out of a work for the first time. He was quite interesting, and he was talking about them with knowledge. Now Samandar was below us, dark and far, and there were some sips seen here. Wings did not even shook, and we after one with coast were going from above a illuminated town. He was saying how difficult it is to live without a fare, not a crush. He was married to the smallest accidents of life. The children were, and there was a fear at all times. Not just the future, but of everything. It was a fear that no one was an object, and while he was successful, yet this fear made her life tired and painful. He always lived a little anxious, but now this fear was too much and his dreams were scary. Her wife he knew about fear, but he had no idea of being her serious. Fear is only in the relationship of anything. If he is just an idea, he is just a word, and the word is not a real fear. What are you afraid of? I'm never clear of what I'm afraid of. My dreams are very vague, but they always have a fear. I've been talking to friends and doctors, but they either blown in fun or didn't help. It always slips me, and I'm from this dirty thing want to be free. Do you want to be free or just? This is a line. I may seem casually speaking, but I can give a lot to get rid of this fear. I'm not more reliable, but strangely, I have also practiced that it goes to the fear. It sometimes goes when I live in my work or in a game, but as a monster makes it always wet and in a while again becomes my partner. Are you feeling a fear now? Are you aware that's where it's? Is he a fear consciousness or hidden? I can feel it, but I don't know that the conceer is or the unconceers. Do you feel it away? As not filling in space or distance. When I feel he feels quite close. But what does this mean? Fear just comes into one's relationship, the thing that can be your family. Are you afraid of your work or the tension of the future? Not more, but I want my death to be quick and long and painful. I don't think this fear is because of my family and not because of the job. So then this fear is coming from much deeper than surface level relationships. Can someone else tell what? But if you find yourself, your Pisces will be too much. Why are you not afraid of superficial relationships? I and my wife love each other. It's hard to think about someone else for him, and I'm not too interested in the woman. We make a complete supplement in each other. Children take a little tension. What can happen? But in this economic mess we cannot give them financial security. He do something on your own. My job is also quite secure, but naturally is afraid of getting something with my wife. So you are required to take your deeper relationship. Why are you so much? I do not know, but I am. Some things have to be considered. What? The thing is not. Let's sneak a little more into it. Why do you take your close relationship? When you say you and your wife pleasures the couple in each other, what does this mean? We find happiness in each other. To understand and understand the same. If you see the inside, we dip on each other. If one of us gets something, there will be a huge blow. In this sense we are dependent. What does the dependent mean? You mean you will lose without him. Feel completely alone. What? He will feel the same. So you both have a dependent on each other. But what is it wrong? We are not just asking him if you're a condom. Do you really want to go into this? Do you want to make sure? Okay. So let's go ahead. If you are not a wife, you will feel alone, get lost from the inside. So he is an essential for you. What? If you depend for your happiness over him and say the same dependence to you, you are afraid of being alone. He is always there to hide your loneliness, as you hide your loneliness. But the loneliness are still there. What? We use each other to hide your loneliness. We attend it in many ways, through the relationship of different types, and every relationship becomes a dependence. I hear the radio because music gives pleasure. I move away from me. Books and knowledge is also an escape from itself. And on all these things we depend. Why do I escape from myself? I don't have to have any vogues. And when I do identify with my wife that is good enough to me, I get away from myself. Yes, most people run by themselves. But when you run away from yourself, you become dependents. The more fear is that the higher the dependence increases and the escape in the required wife. Book, radio, all this becomes very important. Escape becomes the largest value. I use my wife to escape myself, so I get stuck with her. I have to find it. It's not to lose it and also like him to be found because he's also making me use. Both have a common needle to escape and we use each other. We love to do this. You do not like what you are. That's why you escape from yourself. It is quite clear. I'm looking for some understanding in it. It makes some sense. But why do we run? What are they participating? From your own loneliness, from your own emptiness. You can't understand him if you see it without having to escape. So the first escape must stop. You can see yourself as you are. But if you are always judged, you can't ignore what you have when you like or hate. You call him loneliness and escape him. And the process of escape from what is afraid. You are afraid of this loneliness and the dependence becomes its cover. So the fear remains constant unless you that's what. The fear remains. To be fully identifiable from anything, whether it is a person or an idea. It is also not a guarantee of the final escape as it is always in the fear background. He comes through dreams. When identification breaks, and breaks are always when we don't have a candle balance. So my fear comes from my own emptiness. I understood this and this is true. But what do I do with it? You can't do anything. Whatever you will do will be just another participating activity. This is the most important thing to do. Then you will see that you are not separated from that emptiness. You are the same. Observer is the observer emptiness. If you go further, it also ends to say loneliness. The name that was given stops. And if you go further, which is a little difficult, so what was known as loneliness is eliminated. Loneliness, emptiness, thinking and thinking are all over. And only then the end of fear occurs. So what is love? Love is not identification. It's not to think about anyone. You don't think about him when you love. You think only when love goes. When the distance comes between you and your love object. There is no thinking when a direct connection occurs. There is no image, no miss. When the connection is broken, the thinking and the implication start. Love is not a part of mind. Mind makes jealousy smoke to pose, longing, sadness and anxiety to remember yesterday. And all of this are found that the flame suppresses the fire. When it is not smoked, the fire is flamed only. Both cannot live together. Thinking that can be both together. There's just a wish, a desire and a projection of the wish mind, and the mind's thought is never loved. Time and transformation. I want to talk about a little time. Because I think that timeless, the true beauty of the truth, the real piling of it can only be felt when we understand the entire process of time. After all, we're trying to make happiness a richness feel in our own way. Surely is a life that is peaceful in which true happiness is not of time. Real life timeless occurs. We should not go through time to understand what is timeless. But the first time should be understood. We should not use time as a tool that lets us take timeless. But most of us are in life, using time to understand the timeless thing. So it is important to understand what we mean from time. Because I feel free from time is possible. Understanding time is the instant, not just a little bit. It's interesting to think that our life most of the time passes. But the time here means minutes, havers, dams, years, but psychological memory. We win time awarding. We have time result. Our mind is a product of a lot of days and the present is just to go to the future of the past. Our mind, our activity, our mind is based on all time. We can't even think of time as thinking is the result of time. Thinking is the product of tomorrow's experience. And without memory there is no shortage. Memory is time. Time is two ways. One chronological and second psychological. One is the time of tomorrow according to the clock. And the second happens according to the memory of tomorrow. You can't redirect the chronological time. He will be so useless. You will miss your train. But is there any other time other than chronological time? Yes, yesterday. But what is time like mind thinks? Is there time in addition to mind? Surely psychological time mind is a product. Time is not only memory because time is not only today's experience plus equal as yesterday's thinking. That is, the reaction of tomorrow is made by the future. All this is the process of the thought. Mind is the path. This thought process makes psychological progress through time. But is this really real? As chronological time is real. And can we understand the eternal timeless by using this embedded time? As I said, happiness is not yesterday. Happiness time is not a product. Happiness is always. There is a timeless state. You didn't know if you notice. When you get a real job dark in the middle of bright clouds like creative XC. So there is no time in that moment. Only the presentation occurs. When mind comes after that moment, he remembers and wants it to move moment. Then he collects time and is formed from time and time. Time is formed from poses and also forms from time to attachments, which is still a position of the mind. So just discipline the mind in time. Put the is the matter of transformation time, is it? Most people believe that time is needed for the transformation. It takes time between what I have to change. I'm a gritty and comes confusion, hatred, conflict, and pens from agreed. And to become non-grid by removing this grid, we think that time is needed. I.e. time is understood as a way of evolution, in which we become something else. The problem is a person who is violent, is greedy, jealous, is angry, bad, or very palpitate. Is it necessary to change? What is it? Why do we want to change first? Because we are not like us. He brings the conflict, brings the distance, and we want something else by disliking that state. Some better, noble, ideal. So we want transformation as we feel pain, palpitations, and conflict. But does the conference time eliminate? If you say that time will end the conflict, so you are still in the conference. May you say that 20 days will take for 20 years to change yourself, but so far, you still conflicted as only and therefore does not bring time transformation. When we use time to get a quality, virtue, or a special state, we are just participating or delaying it. And I think it's very important to understand the point. Louch or violence pen brings. Disturbance brings in our relationships. And the same is the society. And when we feel this distance, we think I will get it out of time. I will practice non-violence. Non-envy will practice. I practice grinding. If you want to practice non-violence, because there is a violence, disturbance is a conflict, and you think that with time you will find non-violence and eliminate the conflict. But what is happening in real? You are now in the conflict and you want to find a state where the conflict is not. Can it be a result of the conflict-free state? Time is not clean, for as long as you're trying to achieve non-violence, you're validated and therefore in the conflict. Our problem is what can conflict disturbance be eliminated in any time period, whether it's day, years, or whole life. When you say, I'm going to practice non-violence, that's what you're in the conference. Why? You practice only when you are doing some resistance, and you say that the resistance to the exit of the conflict is necessary and it needs time. But it is a kind of conflict, which is resistance. You're in fighting your energy conference like green, envy, valence, K August. But your mind is still in the conference. So it's important to see that it's a false process to dip on time. And when you see this fall, you become the same that you are. A psychological disturbance that is self-examination. What is needed to understand anything? Is there a cool mind? A man who wants to understand genuinely does not have a mind exclusive. Not only does he try to concatenate, as he is also a resistance. If I really want to understand something, my mind immediately hurts is. When you listen to music, your mind does not wander. You are listening. Once you want to understand the conflict, you don't have a dip on time. You just stand in front of what it is the conflict, and immediately the mind comes to peace. A stillness comes. When you leave a dip on time, edge and way to transform what's up, because you see that the process is false. If you face what is in your mind is calm as soon as you are interested goes. Understanding occurs in this alert and passive state. Unless the mind is in the conflict, the blood does, the resistance, judges, may not be understood. I should not judge you if I want to understand you. This is obvious. That cool mind brings the same real transformation to the still mind. When the mind doesn't perform the resistance, it's not what it's, but it's just a passiveware. If you go deeper into this problem, it's a transition to that pacifier. The solution is just a possible. Not a new life can be just today. Not tomorrow. If you do a little extradition on my point, you will see that a new freshness comes away. A freshness is realized. Because when the mind has a desire to understand, there is a sense of desire. When it really takes interest, it is always calm. Our big problem is that we don't have the real desire to understand because we are afraid that if we have understood, there's probably a big change in our life, and that's how we do resistance. What is active when we use time or ideal for graduation? So the new beginning is just possible in the presentation, not in the future, not in tomorrow. The person who depends on time is cheating himself to get pleasure or to realize the trumpet or God. He is living in the darkness and therefore in a conflict, who sees that time is not the condition of our problem and hence he gets free from falls. Those who wish to understand the natural nature, that's why their minds themselves calm down is without any force. When mind is still absolutely cool, not looking for an issuer, it doesn't run behind any resolution. Only then there is real conversion because the mind is worth looking at the truth and just really lets you try not to worry about your free sorrow from self-pity. This time was the spring season here in this hot season. Sunshine was light because a cold air was coming from north, where there was new snow on the mountains. There was a tree near the street that a week ago was absolutely naked. Now it was full of new green leaves that were glowing in the sun. New leaves were very soft, very delicate, very small. In this large space of mind, earth, and blue sky. Yet, in a while she fills the entire thought space. A little further was a flower tree with no leaves. Only flowers were flowers. The wind had dropped their petals into the ground, and some children were sitting in them. He was the children of scoffs and servants. He will never go to school. He will always be the poor people of this world. But the roadside fell the children between flowers seemed to be part of the earth. He saw a stranger sitting between himself. He became surprised. Suddenly quieted, stopped playing from flowers, and for a few seconds he went exactly like idols. But there was a live curiosity in their eyes, there was friendliness and even a little fear. The road had a small garden which had a lot of bright flowers. A crow was protected from sunlight in the leaves of a tree of that garden. The whole body was on the branch. His paws were laid down by fetters. he was speaking or responding to the other poets was, and in 10 minutes there was 5-6 different voices, maybe even more, but now he was happy in some notes. He was absolutely black. Her neck was gray, his eyes were different that never stopped, and his beak was sharp and hard. He was completely in the rest, yet the whole was alive. It was very strange that the mind was complete with that bird. He was not observing the bird, but he took every detail. Mind did not make the bird, because there was no identification. He was with the bird, with its eyes and a sharp beak, like the sea is with fish. He was with the bird, but it was also going across him. Covey's sharp, aggressive and dreaded mind was part of the same mind which goes beyond the sea and time. This mind was too big, was limitiveless. It was not in any measure, and yet the light sea movement of the eyes of that black cove was falsifying between the new glowing leaves. He was also feeling fallen flowers, but there was no focus, no point from which he is looking for. Exit of space that is always something like dust, earth or sky. This mind was absolutely empty, and empty he could give complete tension without any regeneration. It came from the root of the tension. All energy was in that black piece. It was not the energy that is made from an intention, and the pressure is eliminated as soon as possible. He had energy, a new beginning. It was life that no end time. Some people were gathered, and as soon as someone told his problem, the rest of the people explained to him and composed with his experience, but the tone cannot be compiled. Contribution produces self-pity, and then increasing problems are. The face of suffering should be straightened, not to think that your suffering is more than anyone else. Now all were silent, and then a man began to speak. My mother went a few years ago. I've gone to my sin now, and I'm full of guilt. He was a good sinner, and I should be all that I did not. Our views were different. The way of our life was different, and we got away because of this. He was reliable, but my rebellious feel was not so oblivious. The relationship between us was often tight, but had a relationship, and now when he is gone I in pain I. My sorrow is not just a guilt, but also the left alone. I never felt sorrow before, and it is quite deep. What do I do? How do I remove it? Can I ask, are you feeling pain for your sin? Or your suffering is because she was not a relationship that you used? I do not explain what you are saying. If you are feeling pain, because your sin is gone, because you are feeling alone, I just know I hurt I am and I want to escape from it. I don't understand what you want to say. Take a little fine explaining plies. This is quite simple. What? Either you're feeling pain for your sinner as they like to live alive, and when he's not, you're just because one ended up with a relationship that matters left to do and you feel loneliness. What is it? You are in sorrow. Perhaps not for your sinner, but because you are feeling alone, and your suffering comes from self-pity is. What is loneliness exactly? Have you never felt alone? Yes, I often like to walk alone. I go alone on long walks and holidays. Is that the same thing on a walk, like loneliness falsifying and walking alone? I think loneliness mean if both difference. We do not know what we mean. Just know the word. Have you ever felt loneliness by yourself? As a toothache feels. When we talk about loneliness, do he feels painful, or just let's use a word for something we never felt, a directory? Are we traveling or just thinking we are traveling? I want to know, what is loneliness? You mean you want to have a prescription? This is an experience in which we feel completely different. It seems like no one can be trusted. Every relationship is shredded by what I have. Ego is self. He is always in his nature, a wall around him remains. And every activity of it is different. When he feels this separation, he adds himself to a virtual God, property, human country, or ideology. But it is also part of isolation. That's what we've got from this loneliness in every possible way. And so we never let him know the directory. We never face that fear, like some fears on a corner. Never see what it is. Just always escape and hide in someone, or which creates more fears. Have you ever felt loneliness in which you've got the most different cut out? Most I don't understand exactly what you're saying. If I ask if you know what's sad about what you feel like someone hurts. When the tooth hurts, you take action immediately. Dentist passes. But when there is a grief, you escape from him. Through exfoliation, billy, drink and so on. You do something. But that action is sad and there is no action. What? I do not know what to do. So I'm here. What is sadness as long as you know? What will you do? How to know? Have you just made an idea about suffering? Which prevents escape, judge, fear, or all suffering from feeling asynchronous. When the tooth hurts, you do not make any idea or opinion. You just feel and do something. But there is no action here. Not immediately. Because you are not feeling the pain. To feel sad and understand you have to see it. He will not escape. My sins will never come back. So I'm suffering. What do I do to go beyond suffering? We therefore feel sad because we do not see the truth of suffering. The fact that we have thought about it is different and move in different diagrams. If I ask, are you really looking at the fact of suffering or just suffering the idea? You are not answering my question. What do I do? If you want to escape from suffering or be free from suffering, A pill if you just want to run, a bile if an explanation or any destruction can help. However, there is always a dependency, a fear and so on. But if you want to be free from grief, you have to stop fleeing and watch it without jazzing, without kewa. You have to observe him. You have to understand it. Know every corner of it. Only if you do not do it, and the poison of self-pity will also be eliminated. When you understand the suffering, you get freedom from it. To understand the suffering, there should be an aquatic experience and not just any of the words thought. Story. Can I ask a question? How to live your daily life, just as you are living for that one day. How for that hour? What do you do if you just have a bell? I do not know. He said in anxiety whether you don't fit your essential work, your paper wheel and don't ask your family and friends to forgive them that you've hunted and don't forgive them who've hailed you. Degers are not completely exempted from the world, and if it can be for an hour, then for the rest of the days and years. Is this really possible, sir? Try it. You will know yourself. Education and the significance of life. Meaning of education and life. When a world revolves, it makes sense that the nature of the human beings is almost inferior everywhere. Whether India or America, Europe or Australia, it clears even more in colleges and universities. We are making the same kind of human beings. As a machine is out of yes, the main goal of which is just to fill the secure. Trying to become a big man or enjoying life without much thinking. Normal education and it makes it very difficult to think. Makes everyone like living and living. It's not easy to separate from the group or go to your environment. And as long as we worship sexes, it becomes even more risky. The pressure to get access is whether it is money or the visual things, or must be security inside or outside or just comfort. It's altogether inhuman, suppresses the dissatisfaction, eliminates spontaneity and cause fear. And this fear only blocks true intelligence to understand life. As the age increases, both minds and hearts begin to stool. We become a place in life that is at least stressed. And then we are afraid to get out of that comfort zone. The fear of life, the fear of the strangle, the fear of the new experience kills the feeling of the adventure inside us. Our entire upbringing and education scared us apart from our neighbor is. The set of the society is prevented by thinking the august of the role. The false response of authority and trade is taught. But the good thing is that there are some people who are genuinely interested. Those who want to understand the human values without any bias. Know of right, but in most people, there is no real dissociation, nor a bright being. When we feel a knowledge meant to just the according of our environment, if we had a little revolt inside us, it gradually eliminates and life's responsibility kills him completely. The revolt is of two types. One is the violent revolt that is just a reaction without understanding the system of the age, and the other is the deep psychological revolt that comes from intelligence. Many people go to the age of the old ages and then get stuck in the new rallies and entangled in the new illusion and hidden self-intelligence. This reaction just brings up, and every reform needs another reform. But there is an intelligent revolt that is not a reaction that comes from self-knowledge. By understanding your thoughts and feels when we direct every experience and do not undo it, our intelligence will go altogether, and the intelligence that is full is the intent that life has a real guide. What is the real meaning of life? Who are we living for? What are we living for? For whom struggles are there? If we're just getting qualified that a good job is met, or more affixence or control over people, so our life will be just on the surface, empty from the inside. If the education is just making that we become a psychist, become a schooler, become a sliver of books or knowledge, we are making contributes in the world's destruction and mood. Whether it is deeper and bigger than the piling of life. What are the benefits of our education if we never discover it? No matter how many of us are qualified, if we don't have a deep integration of our thoughts and feelings, our lives will be filled with incompetitive, contractive, and fearful. And as long as the education teaches us not to see life from an integrated perspective, there is no special piling. In today's civilization, we have diverted the life in so many parts that the education means just a perpetual skill or purification. The work of education was the entire intelligence of the human being. Now it just teaches to follow a set pattern. And it is a complex process of human beings' defaults as understanding. When we try to disguise life problems in different categories, it is possible that we do not explain life to the true. Man is made of different parts. But if we just focus on these differentials and put a fixed type of pressure, then a lot of confusions and contradictions come in life. The job of education should be to make it a separate part of the addition, as life without integration becomes just a syllable of conflicts and sufferings. What are the benefits of this if we become a lotus, but simply continue to increase the cases? What is the work of if we remain confused even when knowledge is done? What do we mean if we have technical and industrial power, but we are putting it in one another? What do we mean to live if our life just brings valence and pain? Whether we have money or money-making eligibility. Whether we have plagiars or support releases, yet we are at the cast in conflict. We difference in personal and in visual to understand. Personal things are accidents. And from the accidental I mean where we were born, which environment grew up in, which nationalism, superstifications, class difference and bias. Personal accidental things tend to be temporal, whether it's not the entire life of temporary. And because today's education system is based on personal accident and momentary things, it spoils thinking and teaches self-defective fear. We've taught all the education and environment that just live for your benefit and security and just for yourself. Fight, fight. Whether we hide this in good words, the truth is that we've been trained for a system that's based on the exploration and fear. Such training gives condensation and pain as it makes psychological walls inside every human being, which keeps it different from others in a way. Education doesn't just train the mind. Training only brings the efficient. No compression. A mind that's just trained is the extension of the past. And such a mind can never know something new. So if we understand the right education, we have to explore the full Pisces of life. Life's piling important is not for most people, and our education focuses on secondary values that make us an expert of just one field. Whether knowledge and efficiency are essential, but if we just focus on them, the conflict and the confusion grows. There is an efficacy that comes from love to love that is quite powerful, the ambition's efficacy, and without love that gives life a couple of understandings. Efficiency's just ruthlessness produces what it's not. All happening in the world today's education remains for industrialization and war. Its main goal is to simply create an efficient, and all of us are stuck in the machine of this ruthless compression and destruction. If the education moves to the war, will it not fail if it teaches either to be killed or killed? If we have to give the right education, we must first understand the full Pisces of life, and we must have to think of the directly and truly. A consistent thinker is really thoughtless, as he just follows a pattern. He just repays the freshness and thinks in the same line. Understanding life is not possible in the Ostrachter or woman. Understanding yourself means understanding life, and the same is the starting and ending point of education. Education is not just collecting knowledge or linking the facts. This is the whole piling of life, but the whole can never be understood through the part. And that's what works are trying to do: government, organized releases, and authoritarian party. The job of education is that it is a person who is one of the inside, and so intelligent. We can take degrees, can become an efficient like machines, but that doesn't mean we're intelligent. Intelligence is not just an information. It doesn't get from books. Not only does it come from smart, self-defense, or aggressive speaking, the person who has not studied can be more intelligent than any read. We have made exams and degrees a scale of intelligence, and the clever minds have been developed that are avoided by real human issues. Intelligence means to see the real thing, who is in wacky understanding, and to wake up these abilities. There is also the same education in itself and in others. Help us find values that will always remain, so that we don't just reap the slogans or don't sit to hold the formula. Help us break our national and social walls. Don't make them more strong, because this is what the walls are different from human beings. On the regret, today's education system is making us aware of the obedient machine such as an inside. It turns our minds but kills heart and creativity is. As long as there is a deep understanding of life, our personal and groups' predominances will become bigger. The aim of education is not just to make people looking for scalars, technicians, or job. That is why it is free from fear, because there is a real grinding possible among the only human beings. Fear finishes when we begin to understand ourselves. If a person has to deal with every moment of life, if your complex is facing problems, sadness, and saddened demands, then your mind should be soft and be free from thinking things or fixes ought. The work of education should not be that human beings go to the society's awarding or quietly adjust. Rather, he can help him discover the real value itself, which meets exfoliation and self-awareness without bias. Self-expression becomes just ego when it doesn't understand itself. Conflict with just orientation and ambition. Education should be aware that human beings are self-aware, not just showing their feelings. What is the benefit of studying if we are ruining ourselves? When one is having a denser wars, then it's clean that we're growing our kids wrongly. I think we know everything, but we are not able to understand how to handle it. Whether of system education or politics, it does not change from magic. That's when we'll change the deeper ourselves. Human beings are important before the system, and as long as the person does not fully understand himself, no system may be of the left or grind in the right world and bring orders. Life ahead, I think, a completely different way, the morality of behavior and action that came from understanding the entire life process. Now, there's been a lot of importance among our worlds. We try to solve these problems with political and organizational method, through the economic changes and different reforms, but all of this can't give the permanent resolution of the complicated problems of human life. Whether it's a little temporal relief, Whatever the big and strangled, every turnaround brings just more confusions and creates a demand for new returns. Does understand the whole being of a human being. Reforms become just and redeemable. There is no end of the reform and there is no basic solution in this way. Political, economic, or social revolvings aren't a solution as they've just created new tones. This power is given from one group to another group. Such revolvings have never become a solution of confusion and conflict. But there is a resolution that is completely different. And if we're out of non-stop tensions, conflicts, and frustrations of our life, it's important to have a revolution if you got it. It starts with a strong change, not from the revolutionary an idea, but inside the mind. This change comes from the right education and the development of the whole human being. This revolution should be in whole mind, not just in thoughts. Thought is just a result, no source. We have to change the source completely instead of slightly changing the result. Now we're just playing from the resume, just from the systems. We are not bringing any real change, not the old way of thinking are. Neither minds are freed from trades and habits, and this real change will come only if the right education will be found. Mind works to question and learn. Learning does not mean just remembering or collecting knowledge. Rather, it is a clear and sensuality to make senses without any illusion. And it is not to start with the fact that from beliefs or ideal. Learning is not possible where thinking is already formed. Take only information or collect knowledge. It's not learning. Learning means understanding love and love someone to do for him. Learning is only when there is no force, and forcefulness occurs in multiple forms. What? As from influence, from attachments, from threats, or from a hidden reward or sweet engagement. More people think that learning is actually upside down on the background. The confectionery just brings the frustration and just increases the jealousy that we speak of computing. All the rest of the competitions, such as the conference, also prevents learning and creates fear. Ambition also creates fear. Ambition, whether personal or group, being in the name, is always antisocial. The relationships that have good ambition are also destructive from the inside. It is important to have a good-minded development, the mind that can completely deal with every sense of life, and they do not become contractive, frustrated, bitter, or sickle from themselves of the part. And it is also important that the minds know their own conditioning, motives, and rounds. When developing a good mind is important, it also becomes very important. Mind should have full development. Not only do you give knowledges, the teaching time teacher should keep the disconnection open, and students should be able to think about themselves and question. I know all. It does not have any work in the learning of the authority. Both teachers and students are learning from each other through a special relationship, but it doesn't mean that the teacher is able to ignore the clarity of thinking. In our thinking, the order in our thinking comes just when the freedom occurs, and when the teacher understands that freedom is necessary to grow intelligence. It doesn't mean that the mind comes to think or just upside down. The freedom means helping the student to understand what they have their own agendas and motives that come out of their daily tits in action. A disciplined mind is never a free mind, nor the mind that has been suppressed by its degener can ever be free. Only by understanding the entire process of desire can be mind free. Discipline always lets the mind run inside the system of a fixed thought or belief. No, and such a mind can never be intelligent. Discipline just bending in front of the authority teaches. It makes the mind work just in the system of the society. But there is no intelligence that has a capacities in itself. That mind just delivers through capacities of memory. He is like a modern computer which works very accurate and fast. There is only one machine at the end. The authority can force the mind to think in a specific direction. But when thinking is the base on a fixed line or predisposed idea, he does not think. She just like a machine. It is necessary to create dissatisfaction, frustration, and suffering without thinking. We want a total development of every human being to help him reach his highest and deepest capacities. No capacities that the teacher has made a caste or ideal. Any mood of the confection can prevent the full growth of the individual, whether it's going to become a psychist or a gardener. Gardener's full capacitance and psychist's full capacitance is equal unless there is a confection. But when the company comes to the smallest thinking, jealousy and conflict begins. Just as the sorrow can't be covered, there is no love. Sorrow buses sorrow. Love is just love, whether it is in a rich or poor. When every individual grows to his entire capacities, an equivalent society is formed. Today, the social strangle is running to bring equity, whether it's at the economic level or the spiritual, does not mean any real social reforms that want to equidestablish, make new types of anti-social problems create. When right, if there is an education, then there is no need for a correction, because the envy and capacities eliminates the condensation. Here we have to understand the difference between function and status. Status in which the power is applied only when the functions are fed by making high or low. When every person plays in full capacities, then there is no compression of the function. There's just an expression like a teacher, prime minister, or gardener, and then the status loses a prisoner's position. Today's functional or technical capacity identification in the name of the degree. But if we really want a human total development, our thinking totally should be different. The person who has capacities can take degrees or not, like his merger, but he will know the real ability of his inside that is not tied to the degree, and the appraisal of that ability does not make a self-centered confidence that comes from just technical capacities. Such a confidence is always based on the confectionery. So, there is antisocial. Contribution can sometimes be useful for practical resonance, but the teacher does not have the job that he can support the capacities of his students and give someone more or less value, because we want the total development of the individual. So, in the beginning, the student did not give his subjects to his own music because his voice may be on the basis of the bias or ease or just according to an immediate deed. But if he found the help that he himself discovers his real authority, he will suck the natural subspecs in which he can completely express his capacities. If the student is starting from life should be taught as a whole in which psychological, emotional, and intellectual problems are not afraid of life. Intelligence means understanding life as a whole, and giving grades or marks to students is not guaranteed by intelligence, but it falls to the human's dignity. This confectionery value system damages the mind. This does not mean that the teacher does not charge the student's progress or not record. Parents obviously want to know their children's progress and report asked. But if they don't understand what the teacher is trying to do, the report becomes a pressure tool that he wants to take. His degenerated resumes and the work of the teacher is ruined in this process. Parents should understand what type of education the school wants to give. Most parents are happy to see that their child is taking a degree that will secure his future money. Very few parents think more. Yes, he wants his child to be happy. On the forefront of this velocity blessing, he don't pay attention to its total development. Most parents just want their child's career to be successful, so he forces either of fear or in love and force them to take knowledge. And then the book becomes the most instant, and with just the use of memory, just need to repaint without real thinking. Perhaps the biggest prompt for the teacher is that the parent's deep and wide education doesn't have to be interested. Most parents just want their children to take some superficial knowledge so that they have a response if the position is found in this corrupt society. That's why the teacher doesn't just have to teach the children correctly, but it's also to see that parents don't spoil the school's good work. Actually, both the school and the house should work like a team and never have a second opposite, where parents want something else and teachers are doing something else. It is very important that parents are clearly aware of what the teacher is doing and he is heart interested in the total development of his children. The responsibility of parents. There is a lot of teachers who have already been working. Full development of the child is only possible when the correct relationship between the teacher, student, and the parent. Because the teacher can't run every demand or mood of the parents every time, it's important to understand and work with parents-teacher. Do not cause conflict and confusion inside your child. Inside the child who has natural curiosity, who wants to learn, is from the starting itself and should always enclose it in a smart way so that it is strong and worse. No. And gradually the baby began to take interest in different subjects. If this learning is always supported, then maths, zoology, history, science, or any subject will be a problem for a child, not a teacher. Learning becomes easier when there is love and a little care in the environment. The emotional openness and sensitivity comes only when the student feels secure with his teacher. Security in the relationship is a basic note of children. Feelings of being secure and dependent are different. Most teachers develop a dependency without knowing or knowing, and in the same process the fears are used. Those who do the beans work rents too, sometimes with love, sometimes angry. Dependency in the child comes when parents and teachers tell him what to become and what to do. There's always a fear hidden where the dependency occurs, and the fear forces the child that he accepts everything in the blindly, without thinking. The movements and orders of his older people die when the atmospheric dependent becomes. When the child knows and realizes that he is safe, his emotions grow up and fear does not stop him. This securing of the child does not cause an amount of insecure. It happens to be a relaxed feel, whether in a house or in the school, that it can become the same without any force. That he may climb the tree and if it falls, there will be no scold. This secure feel comes only if both parents and teachers take their total well-being seriously concerned. It is very important in the school to make a relaxed feel from the first day inside, feel safe from all. The first impression is very important, but if the teacher tries to win the trust of the child in different ways and lets him do everything from his own merge, then he is just devoting the dependency. He is not making the child feel that he is in such a place where people are born for his total well-being. When the child exercises the relationship with this new trust that he hasn't felt before, he becomes open in the natural communication, and the older people don't seem to be a denier for him. The child who feels safe expresses naturally respect in his own way that is necessary for learning. This respite is not from any authority or affair. When it comes to secure field, it is not from the force of the behavior teacher. He becomes a part of learning as his teacher has a relationship secure. So he becomes a natural settert and can only be the develop of the emos in the safe atmosphere. When the baby is relaxed, the safe feels. When he does what he wants. But in the same process he understands that what is right. And then his wife comes from no resistance, neither from the fear of being suppressed, from the impulsive feeling of a moment. Sensitivity means being sensitive for everything, for plants, for animals, for trees, sky, river water and a flying bird, as well as for the mood of people around them and for a stranger just going to pass. This sensitivity brings free responses from a natural selfishness. The real morality and real heavier. When a child is sensitive, his behavior opens, not incremental, and then a simple session of the teacher also exempts it easily without any friction. When we talk about the total development of a human being, we have to understand its emotional energy as it is more strong than regenerating. We must grow emotional capacities and not suppress it. When we begin to understand both emotional and intellectual gestures, we can delete them without fear. Solitude becomes essential if human needs a total development as it enhances sensitivity is. Man should know what to be alone, what is meditating, and what happens to die. And all of these things make sense only when they are explored themselves. These things cannot be taught. The Pisces can only be explained by the skill. No pointer can be given, but learning from the pointer does not have a single experience of being alone or meditating. The real experience of solitude or meditation occurs only if the mind is in the inquire mode. Only an inquiring mind can make real learning. When to inquiry, learning becomes just the limitation if the old knowledge or someone else is suppressed by the experience or authority. An imitation teaches human beings to be repatched without any real feel. Teaching doesn't just mean giving an information, but it's important to develop a mind that has always been concerned. This can reach the real meaning of mind releases and not just apprehending the temple and reason. Do not find any name of God truth or any other name that it is just to assume the bilovs and dogmas. That's the real release. As a student brushes every day, it is impossible to learn new things, so it is necessary to sit a little lonely or with others daily. This solution cannot be brought from an instruction nor from the pressure of any trade. Not only do those who don't know to be alone, they explore the silence from others. Solitude helps the mind to see itself clearer like a mirror and removes it from escape behind the emblem. Solitude mind gives a stability to all its confuse, fear and frustration that is not major in time can be done. Such a clarity of mind is a real character. Self-contraction occurs where the character is not. Being sensitive means loving. Love words do not love. And love cannot be devied in God and the love of man. It can be done only if one's love is too much or less. Love gives itself a whole, as a flower gives its freshness. But we always had the love in the relationship and eliminate it because of this. Love is not a reformer or a social worker. It also has any political tools. There is no action to be taken. When Paulians and reformers speak of love, they just use word, not touching real love, because love can never be used to instill a round, not for the future. Love is the whole meaning of a field or a forest. Real love is not tied inside a release, and when the organized release is used to love, the love ends there. Society releases and authoritarian governments who are constantly busy in their work without knowing that love is destroyed, which turns into action. For the total development of the human being, which is from the right education, the quality of love has to be maintained and maintained from the beginning. Love is not an emotional drama or devotion. It is as strong as the death. Love knowledge does not get, and that mind just runs behind the knowledge. Without the love he becomes ruthless and works just for evasion. Therefore, the teacher should understand the quality of love from the beginning, which consists of humility, gentleness, conciliation, profession and courtesy. Mesty and curvy naturally are perfect in an aged human being. He is annexed with everyone, even with kind animals and plants, and it looks in the way to talk to him and his wife. Focusing on the quality of love makes mind free of thinking with its emblem, grid and position. Does love not have a fine sense that expresses in the respite and good test? Doesn't it purify the mind that makes the honor wise, pride, and strong? Refinance is a natural thing when it comes to love. It is not a self-control or a result of the outside pressure. We can handle the complex gestures of sex and human relationship when the law is understood properly and not with excitation and fear. The teacher who considers the most important of human total development should understand the reality of sexual age, because it is a big part of life and it must be handled without any wearable interest to the curiosity of children from the beginning. Just tell the biological facts. When the children are older and if there is no quality of love in it, he is just up to the end can reach. Cleans love mind with evil. If the teacher does not have love and understanding, the boy will be able to separate the girls whether it is wired or only increases their curiosity from the roles, and he makes the patency just a physical setting. So it is important that boy-girls are taught correctly. The quality of love also looks in doing something with hands, such as gardening, carpentry, painting, handicrafts, and even through the senses of the tree, see mountains, meaning of beauty and people feeling and listening to music. Listen to the sound of birds' songs and flowering water. We are not only engaged in training the mind and organizing emotional sensitivity, we also have to pay attention to the balanced development of the body. Because if the body is not healthy and energetic, it will distort thinking and bring insensitiveness. It's so oppressive that it doesn't need to speak much on it. Body should be healthy. You should get the right food and also sleep the proper. If the senses are not active, the body becomes obstruction and human total development will go. Movements of the body should be graceful and have a balance of the muscles. Exercises, dancing, and games are essential for this. The body that is not clean, which is sloped and has a posterior loose, eliminates the sensitivity of mind and emotions. Body is not just a mind tool. Body, emotions, and mind together make complete human beings. And the conflict will always be until it 1-3 together in hormonal, and the sensitivity from the conflict is eliminated. Mind dominates the body and suppresses the senses. Insensitive becomes and the body becomes obstruction in the full flight of the mind. Torture the body never helps to reach deep consciences, because it is possible only if the mind, the feelings, and body are not in conflict with each other, but in the natural unity without any caste, bylove, or ideal pressure. While growing the mind, we don't have to do on the focus concentration. Concentration means bringing the mind to a point while the tension is not closed in a boundary. Mind in concentration always of a limit walks inside, but when we want to fully understand the mind, just the concentration becomes a blockage. Attention occurs without limitation, outside the boundaries of the knowledge. Knowledge comes from concentration and its extension is also within the same boundary. In the state of attention, mind knowledge is used as a result of concentration, but the part is never the whole and the parts cannot be understood even by connecting. Knowledge that is the result of concentration can never explain the thing that is outside of the major. The whole mind never comes in a limited to a constrained mind. Hence, the tension is the most instant, but it does not come from hard work with concentration. Attention is a state where mind is always learning, without any center where knowledge is being assembled. When a mind is just constructed on its top, so he uses knowledge to enhance himself and becomes such an activity self-constructor and antisocial. Real learning is just in the state of the sane tension where there is no outer or inner pressure. Right thinking comes only when mind, trades, and memory is not included. Attenuation creates space where silence comes and the same silence opens the door of the crisis. That's why the tension is the most instant. The knowledge function level is required to grow the mind on it should not be the end goal. We don't just want to develop a skill, not only of the mathematician, of the scientist, of the musician. We want to develop students' full human being. How to bring a state of tension. This tension is not from any persuasion, conference, reward, or punishment comes. All this is the form of the cogent. Attention starts when the fierce fear is over. As long as the suspicions are expected, there is fear and the frustration and contrast. You can teach concentrations but not be taught inattention, as the freedom of fear cannot be taught. But we can see what is the regeneration of fear, and when we understand that regeneration, the fear itself is over. Hence, the attention comes to nature when the students around is the atmospheric of a well-being. When she is safe it seems relaxed and has an eye disordered action with love around it. Love never performs the shoulders so the fickle finishes of the envies and become a flashy. The general dissociation is all about. Whether it is young or old she quickly turns into a no-one setup and sleeps mind. The time of suffering is rejuvenated. On the mind then goes into a comfort. It holds a dizziness mind of dissatisfaction and comfort. There is also a part of the disorder that is repeatedly awakened with pain. Distance is the way of inquiring. Inquiry is not when the mind is tied to the trade and the ideal. Inquiry is a flame of tension. The detent means the state where the mind sees the clearness and always finds the new one. Distant means something that is going beyond its limits. If you find the way to silence the dissentant, you can adapt to your self-centered activity and society's limits. Dissent is a flame that burns the waste layers of the satisfaction. But most people to eliminate it try. Then it becomes to run behind the dissent in more big house, good car and all the way. Those who come to the field of envy and keep the envy alive such a condition. But I'm talking about the dissent that the envy does not require a grief, nor is the design of the setup. It is a pure state that occurs in every human being. If it is not killed by the chase of wrong education, the early comfort, the emblem, or any idol, When we understand real distent, we see that tension is also part of the same burning flame that eliminates little thinking of burning and frees the mind from the limitation of that self-centered chase and execution. Hence, the tension comes when the inquiry is not based on a self-benefit or a setup. This tension should grow from the starting in the child. You'll notice that when there is a love that expresses through humility, curiosity, professions, and gentility, you get free from the wall that the insensitiveness is stacked. And then you have a little edge of the child. It helps to bring the status. There is nothing to teach, but you can wake up inside the student. When you don't make a pressure cry that creates a life with contrast inside it, then any movement of his attention can come to any subject, and it is not a natural concentration which comes from the pressure of a ridgelet or incubation. The generation that is taken in this way is free of grit and fear. Those who meet their parent and society in a psychological form, and because they took such an applicator has been done, he will not remain a dependent on the inheritance of the property. Inheritance destroys real independence and limits intelligence as it gives a feel of a fake security. A self-confidence gives no base and dark fills in the mind where some new grows cannot. But the generation that this tortly is in a different way will create a new society because they have intelligence that is not in fear, because both education teachers and parenters have a responsibility. The art of working will be learned, and it is only when every human being sees the truth clean. The truth brings us together and not opinion, belief or thirsty. Concept and fact have a huge difference. Concept can bring us with temporarily, but if we're just working on the basis of a belief, then the chance of separation will always remain. If everyone sees the truth clear, then the details on the details can be disassembled but do not have to be different. Only bad things are different. When all people see the truth clearer, so the details never become a surgeon. Most people are in the habit of working the awarding of the rule of authority. We work milled for a caste or to push an idol, and in this we find belief, persuasion, propaganda. But to work for concept or ideal and bring the truth into action that we have seen ourselves, it's both absolutely different things. When we work under an authority, whether it is an idea or a man who reproduces that idea, it is not real operation. A strong authority that knows more, or the personality of which is powerful, can influence others to work for their so-called ideal, but it doesn't work together with alerts and alive people. When every person considers the truth of an issue himself, he becomes an action understanding the beings, and the same is the real cooperation. The man who therefore cooperates because he has seen the truth lies and the hidden truth inside the lies. He also knows when not to operate and is equally important. If every person is a basic in education to understand the need for change and see the truth that we are discussing, so we will work without any pressure. The pressure occurs when a person is stuck at a point and is not ready to move. When one is convicted with an idea or is stuck in his opinion, the option arises and then he or others have to parse. Influence has to do or forced to think different. But there will never be a sign that every person sees the truth himself. But if we do not see the truth, and just if you take action by based on words or reasoning, then the conflict agreement will be all, and all the wastes become effort. It is very important to work with us, and this is exactly what we are making a house. Home will never make if some people are making and breaking something. Therefore, we have to clearly understand each one of the reasons we want to create a generation that can make all life problems as a whole and not in separate parts. We have to meet and keep in mind to work in such a real cooperative way. We will not get stuck in details. The responsibility of those who want to bring the seriously correct education is not just to bring what they understand in action, also help others reach that understanding. Teaching is the most noble profession. If it is also called purification, this is an art that is not just from the mind but from the infinite profession and the law. Real education means understanding your relationship with everything, with money, with property, with people, and the field of our whole life with nature, and beauty is a part of understanding. But beauty is not limited to just propositions, forms, tests, and heaviers. Beauty is the state where mind has left the center of self. There is no end of the simplicity in the position of the simplicity, and the simplicity occurs only if there is an austerity that does not come from any calculated discipline or self-denial. This is the austerity of self-abnegation that is only possible with love. When we don't have love, we make a civilization where you just find the beauty of the form is, but there is no symmetry of the whiteness and self-abandonment inside it. It is not a self-abandonment when we sacrifice ourselves in the name of good works, ideals, or beliefs. All these activities look selfless from the outside, but the self from the inside hides behind different names. Just an innocent mind can only explode anon, but the innocents that have been calculated just to wear a tomb cloth or hide in the lion cloth, he does not have a position of real self-abandonment. From where courtesy, gentleness, humility, profession, those who are expressions of love. Most people see the beauty in just the thing that is created or added, such as human form or a temple. We say a tree, a house, or a curved river is beautiful, And then we know the throughs of the confectionery what happens next. At least we know that. Can beauty be done? Is the beauty just what you look like? We call a picture, palm, or face beautiful, because we know ality what is beauty. Who taught us what does beauty not end with a combination if we feel a family? Is beauty just a non-observation? It is a state in which the form may be and not. We always run behind the beauty and want to avoid the next things, and it creates the ultimately insensitivity to escape from one side and from the other side. If we have to understand or feel beauty, we have to be beautiful and positive for both the next. A feeling is not a beautiful. The next one is just a feeling, but we see him through our rebellious and social conditioning and label him. Good healing is bad feeling and then delete or destroy him. When the feeling is not given a label, it remains intense all the way, and the same passionate intense is necessary to understand the thing that is not the next one. The obvious beauty that is the most important is the sustained feeling that is not just the leg of his player. This is the passion beauty creatizes, and because he cannot be compare of anyone, it doesn't have any amount. If we have to bring about the total development of human beings, we have to understand the concise mind as well as the inconscient mind. Just approximate the concussion mind without understanding the unconceivables brings contradiction in human life with frustration and mood. Hidden mind is more powerful than superficial. Most teachers are just engaged in giving information or knowledge to the superficial mind so that he can take job and adjust to the society. That's why the hidden mind ever comes to talk not only what is called education, just climbs the layer of a knowledge and teaches technique and gives a bit of eligibility to be adjusted with the environment. Hidden mind is more powerful than superficial mind, whether superficial mind is capable to be aged or adjusting. And this hidden mind is not a mysterious thing. Head-on or unconscious mind is a storehouse of old residential memories of caste. Our past release superstition symbols as a race of strange trades of holy and non-holy literature influence aspirations are fresco shabbats and different types of food that are all settled in the unconceivable mind. Hidden and open desires, they're behind the mots, hops, fists, sadness and pleasures and beliefs that are formed by the need for security that are expressed in different forms. All this happens in hidden mind. Hidden mind has an extraordinary power to keep the old past and also has capacities to influence the future. The glimpse of all these superficial minds are found in dreams or different ways. Daily things when she doesn't have the whole Bijian. Hidden mind is not a secret thing, but it needs to be afraid of it, nor need a specialist to get him out. Well, because hidden mind is so powerful, superficial mind cannot handle it with its own merged. Superficial mind is significantly weakened next to its hidden part. Whether it's a dizzy of social nodes to dominate or control it, he just touches the surface. This causes a gap in the middle of the superficial and hidden. A contrast. We have discipline, practices, or rules to try to fill this gap. But this gap cannot be filled with such. Conscious mind is just busy in the present moment, while unconstructed minds have a weight of multiple senses, and he cannot be replaced with a small immediate needle. And conscious has a quality of deep time, and the conscious mind that is filled with the recent culture cannot handle it through its urgency. If you have to eliminate self-contradiction, superficial mind will have to understand this fact and have to be silent. It doesn't mean that hidden's arge open left. When there is no resistance between superficial and hidden, hidden does not force the immediate pay force that occurs with the profession of time. Hidden which is not understood and superficial that is aged. Presence hit moments challenges, can give superficial responses, but because the contrast between the two occurs, any experience that superficializes further increases the conflict. It creates an experience and increases the gap between the past and the present. Superficial mind when outer experience, it just creates more conflict if the Mina inner head-on understands. Experiences don't free the minds or make it feel like we think. Conflict remains until the experience just makes the experiencer strong. Condiment mind is just strong its conditioning when experienced and maintains contrast and mood. Only those who are capable to understand their entire structure can become an expert free factor. Power of hidden mind once the layers are understood, the details can be seen as wisely and intelligently. The most important thing is to understand the hidden mind and not just give knowledge to the superficial mind. No matter how powerful it is, understand the hidden mind, the entire mind becomes free from the conference, and only then the real intelligence is possible. We must have a full power of superficial mind that lives in a daily life as well as understand a hidden mind. Understanding hidden mind leads to a total living where self-contradiction and its suffering eliminates the cycle of happiness are. It is necessary to identify the hidden mind and look at his work, but it is wrong to get stuck in it or to give him much more. Just when mind understands both superficial and hidden, only then he can go beyond his limits and discover the bliss that are not part of time. I'm afraid that every kind of connection between us is over. But if we both believe that it's very important to understand ourselves, then our relationship becomes something else. Then we can explore with joyfully and wisely. I do not ask your trust. I'm not keeping myself as an authority. I have nothing to teach you. No new philosophy, no new system, no new way to reality. There is no way to the truth. Every way the authority is the most destructive and bad thing in the field of attention and understanding. Leaders ruin their followers and followers to their leaders. You have to become a master of yourself and the denomination of yourself. You will have to question everything that the human beings have considered valuable or natural. If you don't follow someone, you feel very lonely. Stay alone. Why you feel afraid of being alone? Because you are in front of yourself, as you are, and you think you are empty, bad, be sold, be guilty, and have little thinking. Don't let the old man of another hand look at this truth. The fear begins when you run. When we try to understand ourselves, so we don't mean we're getting different from the world. There is no wrong process. The people of the whole world are stuck in the daily problems in which we are. So when we try to understand ourselves, we are not becoming crazy, as there is no difference in the visual and collective. This is true. I make the world like I am. So we don't get lost in the fight between this part and the whole. I have to look at the field of my entire self, that is the conscience of the invisual and society. Just when mind goes across both of these, only then I can become a light for myself that never feels freeing. So where do we start understanding ourselves? Oh, and how do I study myself? How to observe? How to see what is happening inside? I can only be exposed to myself in the relationship. Because life is a complete relationship. No benefit from making them meditate or sitting in a corner. I cannot live alone. I exist only when I relay people, things, and ideas. And when I understand these relationships, I think I understand myself. The rest of the understanding is just thinking, and I could not understand myself as thinking. I'm not an illustrator thing, so I have to look at myself as I am not like I want to be. Understanding is not an intellectual work of a mind. It's both different things to accumulate knowledge about yourself and understand yourself. Whatever knowledge you accumulate about yourself is always the past, and a mind that is filled with the past is unhappy mind. Understanding yourself, no. Just like learning language or sign that you have to remember things. But learning about yourself in the psychological field is always in the present, and knowledge is just the past. And because we live mostly in the past and are happy with it, therefore, we begin to understand a lot of importance. This is why we worship clever, intelligent people. But if you're learning all the time, you'll find that learning is a continuous movement, with no role of past. If you say, I will learn slowly, add a little bit, then you are not looking over yourself right now, but looking at the filter of the nobles of the past. There should be a lot of sensitivity to learning and no sensitivity. When the past's idea controls the presentation, mind's quick, flexible alert does not remain. Many of us are not positive. We eat more, do not care about good diets. More smoke and drink and make your body DDLE and insensitive. When a body is formed, mind how will alert, clear, create. You may be sensitive to some personal things, but there is no separation in the body and mind to be completely sensitive to every aspect of life. This is a complete movement. You have to stay with him to understand anything. It has to be left. Every part of her nature, her structure, her movement needs to be known. Have you ever tried to watch yourself? If you have done, you will see that yourself is not a dry thing. He is a wild thing every time now. And your mind should also be alive to live with a blissful thing. And mind alive does not happen until he is stuck in opinions, judgments, and values. To see your mind and heart movements, your mind should be free to see your whole being. Not a person who does aggregate or disarray that is not in the side of the organ, nor simply a quarrels on the words, but a mind that is difficult to see and do it. For many of us have forgotten to see or listen to themselves. Like we have forgot to see the beauty of a river or forgot to hear the air passing between the trees. We can't see clear when we condemn or justify something. And when our mind is constantly speaking, we can't see what we see is just what we've done about. Every person has an image of what it is or what it should be, and the same image prevents us from seeing the same photo as we have. One of the most difficult things in the world is the simplest way to simply anything see. Our mind has become a very complex, and we have lost the touch of the simplicity. I'm not saying this simplicity clothing or food. Just wear a lion cloth or breaking the record by fastening, it's all childhood that saints. I am talking about the simplicity that can be seen without fear. We can see ourselves as we are without any lying. If we lie, say, yes, I don't lie, hide or escape it, and need a lot of humility to understand myself. If you start saying that, you stop learning immediately. If I know myself, and if you say what to learn about me, if I just have a bundle of memories, ideas, experience, and trades, you stop learning again. Innocence and humility are eliminated inside you whenever you are feeling certain. Once you take a convulsions or start looking through knowledge, you are over, because you see everything from old sight. But if you have no base, you are free if there is no collateral. To see, learn, and when you look at the freedom, everything is new. An overconfident man dies from the inside. But how to watch and learn free when our mind is made in the pattern of a culture from birth to death? For centuries we have from nationality, caste, class, trades, releases, languages, education, literature, art, customs, propaganda, economic pressure, food, weather, family, friends, experiences, and every possible influence condiment has come. So we look at every problem through our conditioning. Do you know that you are condensed? This is the first question you should ask yourself, not how it is free from conditioning. You are never free, and if you say, I have to be free, so you get stuck in another conditioning trap. So do you be aware that you are condensed? Do you know that when you look at a tree and say it is the oak tree or it is a rainy tree, then the name that the knowledge is come between you and the tree, you have to hand it to make sure that the tree is left in no work that name suggests, yet you are condensed. Who tells you? How do you feel hungry, not as tired as well as vaccination? How do you know that you are condensed? Does he understand your reaction? When a challenge comes, you respite every challenge to your condition. And because your condition is unfulfilled, your response is always unfulfilled. When you feel it, this conditioning of caste, religion, and culture makes you feel like a prisoner. Just take a conditioning. Just the name of the air that you can feel you understand that you never anything with dead things. You can only see if you have a condition when you have a compliance in the continuation of the plaque or avoiding the pen. If everything is perfect around you, your wife loves you, you love her. If you're a good house, you don't know your conditioning at all. But as if there is a disbursement, the wife sees on someone else or goes money or is afraid of the war or another pen or anxiety, you understand that you are a condense. When you fight any distance or protect yourself from any outside or inside danger, you know that you are condensed, and because most people remain disturbed most of the time, whether from above or from inside. That's why we are conditioned. As long as an animal is loved, he reacts well. But as soon as he gets angry, his entire valence comes out. We live with life, politics, economies, world horror, brutality, sadness, and misery of our inside are. And then we understand how little we are stuck in the conditioning, in the thinking. So what do we do now? Do most people say, by exacting that distance? As a back pain occurs, we learn to live with it. Do we just cooperate? We all have a habit to take everything, to treat him normal and blemish. I would be different if the lash on the circumstances is okay. We say, or I would have a chance to meet myself, or I'm immersed with this whole knives. We always have the blemishes of our suffering put on or in environmental or economic condition. If a disbursement is cooperated, it means that it has become a mind dull. As someone has seen so beautiful that he does not notice. He gets careless, gets hard. His mind becomes more dying. And if we don't find the distance, we start to escape it. Why do we participate in the aquatic fact of looking at the football match of the awakening in a political group, or visit the church, or find a fun of another way? We fear the death are. Let's just for the exam, we make all sorts of thin hoops, billies to hide the death. But the fact is still the same. We have to look at it to understand a fact. He does not have to escape. Most people are afraid of life and die. We are afraid of our family. People are afraid of what they think. Your jobs are afraid to lose their security. And fear thousands and things. The simple thing we fear. We are not afraid of this. Now why we don't face that fact search? You can face a fact only in the present. And if you never let him come to the present, you can never face because you are always participating in him. And because we've built a big network of escape, we have created habits. If you are a little sensitive, there's a slight serious, you will not just look at your conditioning but also look at how much denier it is. How it brings red and brutality. So if you see the denier of conditioning, then why you act do not take? Are you lazy? Lazy means that there is no energy. But if you have an instant physical denser in front of you, you have instant energy. If you have a snake or cough or fire, why do you not see the denier of conditioning? You do not do anything if you see that nationalism is threatened to protect your own? You do not see it. You may think by analyzing thinking that nationalism brings just the destruction, but there is no emotional feel in it. Only when the emotional failure occurs, you take action. You will never do anything if you see the denier of conditioning just as idea. When the denier is just an idea, there is a conflict between the idea and the action, and the same conflict takes your energy. Only if you do something you see the conditioning immediately. As you see a trench, so see is the action. Most people are unnoticed by life. Just react according to the environment where they are nurtured, and it creates greater bondage. Increases bonding and conditioning. But as soon as you give your full attention to the conditioning, you'll see that you've been absolutely free from the past. He falls himself. Last time we said JOI it is completely different from the plaque. So, let's see what happens in the plaque, and whether there's a life possible in a world where there is no pleasure, but there is a tremendous job, bliss. We are attending the back of the gamer in any manner. whether it is intellectual, sense, or culture. Reforming plaque others what to do to say. The plaque of curing the bad work of the society. The plaque of doing good work. The more knowledge of, the more physical setup of, the more experience, the more life of the plaque in all the smart clever game of the mind. And the biggest player in the last is to get the God. The planner is the structure of the society. From childhood to death, we are looking for a clearer way or a clearer plaque. So, whatever your plaque form is, it is very important that you clearly understand it. Because the same can shape your life is. So we should look very softly and carefree from a lot of closes to the gamer. Because it is possible to find the pleasure and then to find it and walk through the basic heart of life, and without it, life boring seems lonely and meaningless. Why don't let your life go through the plaza? The simple reason is that pens, frustrations, griefs, and fears come with the plaque and also falls away from fear. If you want to live, then go to the same way. The world is living anyway. But if you want to be free from suffering, so you have to understand the entire structure of the plaque. It does not mean that he has to revise. We are not saying wrong. But if you follow it, open the eyes, knowing that the mind that always finds a pleasure comes with pens. Both may not be different. Whether we ram behind the planer and try to escape from the pen. Now, why does this mind always ask for pleasure? Why do we do with both good and dirty work platforms? Why do we sacrifice on the thin sea door of the plaque? Travel. What is a pleasure, and how does it come? Have you ever asked this question? And their sons have been followed by the end? The plaque comes from 4 steps. See, sensation come, contact, and beware. I saw a beautiful car. I see a session, then I touch it or imagine, and then it comes to the car. Desire to show off. Or I see a beautiful cloud, or a mountain under the blue sky, or a new leaf that turned out to spring, or a deep valley that is beautifully filled, or a beautiful sunset, or a face that is intelligent is alive. There is no self-conceal, and so that the face is really beautiful. I see these things with whole delight, and there is no observer when I observe. Just she is beautiful like love. For a moment I disappear the whole, with its problems, Egyptosis and suffering. That's just a magical moment. I can see that moment with joy, and the next moment may be forgotten, or then the mind falls in the middle and the problem starts from the moment. My mind thinks how much it does beautiful, then tells me to see it again. Thinking begins to support, judge, and think I need it tomorrow. The process of redefining a 1-second delight turns on through thinking. There is also the same with sexual desire or with another desire. There is no mistake in desire. Reacting is absolutely normal. I will react if a pin is stolen, as long as I cannot be paralyzed. But that thought wants to reap that experience, and the more potent makes it more mechanical. The more you think about the moment makes the little player more strung. So, the little one crouches the plaque through the desire, runs it and puts it, and thus distort a natural desire. Thought makes her memory, and memory is then thought and enlarged. Yes, memory has its own place. Some levels are required. No memory will work in everyday life. Memory in his own area should be inefficient, but there's also a state of mind where memory is very low. A mind that is not tied to memory knows real freedom. Have you ever noticed that the memory is very low when you are completely swelling something with your heart? Only if you do not respond with the whole being of a challenge. Then the conflict occurs, the strangle occurs, and the same brings the confusion, the plaque or the pen. And struggle itself creates memory. That memory again, and even from memory connects and becomes the same memory response. Everything that happens to be the result of memory is old and therefore never free. There is no such thing as the freedom of thought. It's a perfect waste thing. Not new. Because there is a reaction of thought, memory, experience, and knowledge. Not because he is old. The thing you've seen with delight for a moment makes it too old. You are not always able to find the old thing. No time in new. So if you look at everything you see that the plaque does not penetrate into it. A face, a bird, a color, a sunny water wrap, or anything that gives you pleasure. If you see him that you need to redo that experience, then you will not have a pain or fear, and there will be a tremendous job. When you try to reap the player, he becomes a pen. If you want to re-engineer, look inside it, it's the pain. For he was not like yesterday. To get the same delight when you strangle, not just for your sense, but for that beings feel inside the mind. And when you don't get it, you'll be cursed, disappointed. Have you seen? What happens when you are snatched with a small plaque? When you don't get what you want, you become inauspicious. When you don't get what you want, you become a hateful. When you don't get a drink, smoke, sex, or what you need, how much fat you have inside. All this is the form of fear. What? Fear that you won't find what you want, or who you have will be lost. When a belief or ideology that you hold for years, do you not feel afraid of standing alone when he is stripped from you, whether from the logic or by any tremor of life? He gave you the badger. When he goes, you feel free, and then you immediately begin to find a new game or new belief. I think it's all too simple, and because it's simple, we don't see this feature. We feel good to complex everything. when your wife is away from you if you do not have jails? Are you not angry? Do you not hate the man on which he has been stuck? And what is it all? Just fear that you'll lose something that gave you a pleasure, sequence of companionship, security, and position. So if you understand that where there's a pleasure run, there's a pain there. So if you want to live, then go. But just don't fall into it. But if you want to finish the pleasure which will eliminate the pen, you will have the structure of the entire plaque with tension will have to be seen. It is not to cut it like the mucks and the trustee who thinks that the woman see is sin. And in this thought, the energy of your understanding kills. Rather than understanding the entire Pisces and deeply of the placer, you will only get a tremendous job in life. You can't think about JOI. JOI is a quick thing to do, and think about it and make it play work. Living in the present means to immediately look at the beauty and not want to play through it fear, pleasure, sadness, thinking, and valence. All this is connected to each other are. Most people only take a player in valence. By hating someone, angry with someone or group, keeping feelings against others. But in a mid-state where violence is completely eliminated, there is a different job that is very different from the plaque of the violets that have a conflict, hatred, and fear. Can we go exactly to the root of violence and free it? We will always fight each other. If you have to live and think that most people live in such a way, keep walking. But if you say, violence can never be over, you have blocked yourself and there may be no talk between us. But if you say maybe there can be another way to live, we can talk to each other. So let's look at us together, those who can communicate. Is it possible to eliminate the valence of every way from its inside and yet to gargle in this scary brute world? I think it's possible. I don't want to have a single blow of hate, jealousy, eject or fear inside me. I want to live in peace completely. This does not mean I want to die. I want to live on this beautiful ground. It is so beautiful that it is so full. I want to see trees, flowers, dances, farms and women, boys, girls. What can I do if I want to live in peace with my inside and with the world as well? If we understand how to see violence, not just outside the society like war, riots, caste and class battles, but also inside us, we will probably go beyond. This is a very complex problem. For thousands of years, human beings have been violent. The releases have tried to control it all over the world, but no one was able to control it. So if we have to enter into this question, I think we have to be very serious. Because it will take us to a different world. But if we just want to have fun by thinking about this, we won't go away. You may feel that you may then take this price to the serious. But as long as the worlds and people don't want to do anything, what's the advantage of you to do? I don't matter whether it's serious. I am myself serious. Just the same as quite. I am not a guard of my brother. I feel strong from inside to take the question of this valence as a human being, and I will see that I will not be able to see myself. But I can't say you to someone else that you don't have to become a valent. You don't want to do it until you want yourself. Let us explore this journey together if you want to understand the price of reality. Is it out or here is the price of violence? Do you want to solve this problem in the world or do you want to see this question inside yourself? If you are free from your inside, then you have to question how to live in a world that is filled with valence, greed, jealousy, and brutality. Will I not waste? This question is always asked. But when you ask for such a question, I think you're not going to be able to grind in the vow. If you live a reality, you don't have any problems. You are probably sent to jail because you refuse to do army job or you are killed because you refuse to fight. But that's not a problem. You'll just be killed. It is very important to understand this. We're trying to understand violence as a fact that is an idea. A fact that a person is inside and is a human being. And I have to be open in front of myself to understand this problem. I have to expose myself in front of you. Because you probably don't have to be interested. But I have my mind in such a state keep where I want to look at this thing to end and stop anywhere. Now I must clear that I am a person. I've done the violence fee. Angry, in my sexual wants, in hatred, in making an enemy, in jealousy and even in things I have realized it. I know it and I tell myself. I want to understand this whole problem. Not just the part that appears in the war, but also the precursor that is in the human beings that are also in the animals in which I also have a part of I. Violence does not just kill anyone. Violence also occurs when we tell someone a little bit, when we point to remove someone by hand, when we consider the death of fear. Violence is not just a large level of clean in the name of God's society or country. Wellness is very small, very deep and we are trying to go in the same depth. When you tell yourself the Hindu, Muslim, Christian, European or anything else, you become Valentine. Why do you understand? For you the rest are different from humanity. When you separate yourself through the belief, the nation or the traitor, he creates valence. So the man who wants to understand violence is not part of a country, release, political party or any parental system. He is interested to fully understand humanity. Now, there are two primary schools of thoughts to valence. One says that valence occurs in the nature of the human being, and the other says that violence is caused by the society and culture. But we didn't have to disassemble what school we are in. No means. What is the important is the fact that we are present and not what is the refuge of this violence. Violence is the most common form of anger. When my wife or sister is attacked, I say I'm angry with the right cause. When my country is attacked, on my ideas, on my principles, on my ways, I say I am right. I am still angry when someone wars on my habit or my little thinking. When someone jokes me or insults me, I get angry, or if someone takes my wife and if I get jealous, that jealousy is also considered correct as it was my property and it is superheated all the temperament. It is also recommended to kill someone for your country. So when we talk about anger that is a part of valence, do we see him in the righteous and irritable, and incorrectly, according to his environment and thinking, or we just temper the anger, whether there is a right temper or just an angry, there is no good influence or useless influence, just influence occurs. But when an influence does not suit me, I say that he is bad. He sucks. When you protect your family, your country, a flag piece, a belief, an idea, a dogma, something, then the protection itself is an indication of anger. So can you see anger without any extraception? Do I think I had to save my stuff, or I was okay to be angry, or how bad I was angry? Can you see anger like a different entity? Absolutely objectively. No. Can you do while supporting it? Can I see you? When I hate you or think you are very good, I can see you only when I see you with a look that you don't love. Can I see the anger in the same way? This means I'm open to that price. I am not preventing it. I am observing this strange thing without reaction. It is very difficult to see the anger without feeling, because he is a part of me. But I'm trying this. Here I am a person. Whether I'm black, brown, blonde, or purple, I don't mean that it's from my own genes or the society has put in me. I just mean if I could be free from it. Being free from violence is the most instant for me. It's more instant for me than sex, food, or nutrition. Why is this thing worsening me from inside? It is ruining me. I want to understand the world as well. I want to go beyond it. I feel I am responsible for the world as well as anger is. I feel this is not just the word, and I say to myself, I can do something only if I myself go through anger, beyond violence, across the nationality, and it's the feeling that I have to understand my inside violence. It gives me a tremendous energy and money to know the truth, but I can't press it to go across the airlines. I can't ignore him. I can't say it's my part and what, or I should not me see. He has to study. He has to understand from a very close, and I can only be close when I don't judge him or her. But we always judge or justify. So I'm saying just let's go and stop resting. Now if you want to finish the airiness, if you want to finish the war, then how much your heart and mind is in it? Is it important for you that your children are killed? Your sons are sent to the army where they have a mouth. What makes you difference? If you haven't touched, then what does the thing matter for you? Money, party, drugs. Do you not see if you are ruining your children inside? Or you're just understanding it? Okay, if you're interested, try to figure out your entire heart and mind. Don't just sit back and speak. Let us explain everything. I'm pointing out to you that you can't see anger or violence until you judge it or justify it. And as long as you have it a burning, there is no problem. You can't leave both of them. So first you will learn. You have to learn how to see anger, how to watch your hand bend your wife, your children. You have to listen to the politician and also understand why you cannot be objective. Why do you judge? Why do you dissatisfy? You have to learn how to judge and justify as part of your social structure. Your conditioning results. Whether you're German, Indian, Negro, or American, and conditioning makes your mind slow and dull. You must have such capacities to understand something real and deeper to learn that you go deeper into that thing. You can't go deeper if your tool is blunt. So what we're doing is to sharpen your mind. The mind that he tries to dissipate at all times, and that's why it's done. You can go deeper only when your brain is sharp like a needle and strung like a diamond. Just sit back and ask me how to get a brain. You should have the same appetite of the mind as you eat. And if you have been able to see why your mind is stool, he is the Tao because he has made a Diwali around himself that is part of the condemnation and justification. If the mind is free from these things, you can see, read, go deeper, and you can understand the entire price clearly. Let's now come back to that main issue. Is it possible to completely erase valence from your inside? We also have a kind of airiness when we say you do not change. Why do you not change? I'm not saying this. I don't have to prove you anything. This is your life. I know. How do you live? This is your work. I'm just asking if a person who is living psychologically in any society, can he remove valence from his inside? If yes, this process can only bring a new way to live. Many of us have assumed violence as part of a normal life. 2 awesome world wars taught us nothing. Just taught how to create even more walls between humans. But how will it happen if some of us want to get rid of valence? I don't think any analysis we do or get from a professional. Some will help. Perhaps a little bit we turn, slightly calm down, a little bit of love increases, but it won't get the whole picture. But the analysis process is also required. Because in this process, your brain becomes a perfect curse, and it's a sharpness, it's a stress, it's a seriousness that you'll have can give a clean look. More people don't see the whole thing at the same sight, but the clarity comes when you look at the details and then hit Oli. Some people created non-violence concept to get rid of violence. But non-violence is also an ideal, and we are away from the real thing as long as we live with the ideal. How many ideals we have found? All are filled with holy books, but we still have a validity. So why don't look at violence directly and forget the word non-violence? If you have to understand the whole energy of your mind will have to be put into it, and when you have made the ideal world, your attention is lost. Can you remove the ideals as a whole? There is no concept on the man who wants to understand the truth or love. He has one in the same. You don't have to give any assignment on it to understand your anger. For as soon as you think of his auspices, you can condominate him, and then you cannot see him as he is. He is a fact when you say you hate someone, whether it's in listening bad. If you look at him carefully, go deeper, he will finish. But if you say I should not hate, I must love in my heart. So you are living in a false world where there are double standards. Live in pure moment completely to live in the same, without any condensation, without any submission, and then you are completely understood, and it is the end of understanding. And when you see the clarify, the price of the pelvis is absorbed. What can you see violence's face clearly? What? Not just outside. And this means that you are completely free from the inside, because you didn't have any ideology concept through which you get rid of it. It demands very deep meditation, not just words. Now you have read a series of statements. What did you explain to you? Your conditioned mind, your living habits, your entire social structure prevents you from seeing the fact and being free instantly. You say I will think of it. Will you see if you'll see be free is possible or not? I will try. This is the most dangerous thing. I will try. There is no trial. Do not do it either. You do not see it when the house is burning. Let's look at the thinking that water is poured out from theology. Home is burning your world, and you say, I think which is the best to extinguish the fire. You do not ask the color of the hair of a man when you are fired in the house. If we really want to reach the trumpet, don't hesitate to press and don't want to fit into a pattern. We can get there. Truth can be reached only until the truth. Only when the brain is completely free without breaking. But first of all, we should ask if we want to try out. When we talk about freedom, whether we're talking about the whole freedom or just want to freedom from the things that give us relief that doesn't seem good. We want to get rid of our painful and bad memories, but keep your fun, pleasant ideas, formulas, and relationships. But just keep one and another. Get rid of mumakin. As we saw, happiness and sorrow are not different. So everyone has to decide whether he wants to be completely free. If so, we have to understand the nature and structure of freedom. Is it freedom when you become free from anything such as pain or anxiety, or whether you have a different thing to try? You have become free from irritation, but is it not a reaction to independence? And if there is a reaction, is it really independence? You may it is another reaction. Perhaps you tried so because he didn't have a trend or a confectioner, or you tried with nationalism because you believe in internationalism, or you think there's no sense of nationalistic thinking in today's economy. You've done it in a relaxed side, or you've been against any spiritual or political leader that promises to give you freedom through discipline or revolut. But whether it's all sorts of rationalism or logical contention with any real freedom, if you say you are free from anything, this is just a reaction that then becomes another reaction and then creates another conformity and takes another domination form. If you are stuck in the chain of a reaction and try every action, but this is not independence. This is just a modified past that doesn't leave the mind. Young people like today's young generation are in revolt against the society, and it's a good thing in themselves, but revolt is not independence, because if you revolt, it's a reaction, and that reaction creates your own pattern and you're stuck in that pattern. You think it's something new, but this is the same old one in a new shape. Any social or political revolt is finally the same old Borwa installment. The freedom comes only when you see and take action, never through revolt. It is the only action to see, and the action is taken immediately as a dictator is seen. If you don't think, you don't stop doing the disconnection. The denier gives you action. That's why it's the only action and action. Independence is a mind state, not freedom from anything, but a feeling that can drizzle on everything, to queer everything. Be so attentive that every kind of dependence, slavery, conference, and acceptance are left. This freedom means being lonely, but whether a brain that has been dependent on the entire environment and its tendencies. Sometimes the entire freedom can be found in which there is loneliness, where there is no leader, authority. This loneliness is an inside state that no stimulus is dependent on any knowledge, and neither is the result of any experience or convulsions. Most of us are never alone from inside. The difference in isolation and loneliness. We all know what is isolation. Make a wall around yourself so that no greens do. There is no plea or cultivating a detachment. That is another kind of pain. or live in the ivory tower of a dreamy ideology. But loneliness is an absolutely different thing. Aloneness. You are never alone because you are filled with complete memories, conditioning, and pasturing of tomorrow. Your mind is never clear of all that rubbish he has gathered. If you need a loneliness, you must die from the past. When you're alone, there's a feeling of being an outsider when you're not alone with a family or not from a country. The person who is lonely in this way is innocent, and the same innocence rejoices the mind. We take together thousands of people's things and all of our misfortune, remember to be completely abandoned by all that means to be lonely, and the mind that is lonely is not just innocent, but also young. Not in the sense of age, but at all times, young, innocent, and alive, and just the mind that is true that you can't be missing from any word. In this loneliness, you begin to understand what is life. Live with yourself as you are sure, not as you think you should be or as you were before. Look what you can see yourself without false modesty, without fear, without any justification or condensation. Just live as you are. When you have a deep relationship with something, you begin to understand it. But as you get used to him, you are not living with him, as your anxiety or irritation or whatever you are. As if you live near a river, it stops to hear the water sound after a few days. Or if there is a picture in your room that you see daily, once a week you stop seeing it. The same happens with mountains, valleys, trees, with your family, husband, wife. But if you live with something like irritation, anxiety, jealousy, you should never have a habit of it. You should never exap. You have to take care of it, as a new planted tree does. Save him from the sun to the storms. You should take care of him or her, condemn or justify. And when you care for him, you begin to love him. When you care for him, you're learning to love. It is not that you are loved by jealousy or anxiety, as many people are, but you're just observing. Be careful. So what, you and I can live like we are really, knowing that we are bored, resurrection, feared. We do not understand that we are full of love, easily get hurt, easily cheer up. Can we live with this? Neither expressing him or her, without depressive or overly happy. Now, let's ask another question. Is this freedom that is the way to meet the structure inside us? What is it? Get time through? Does the freedom get a graduality? Not exactly. For as soon as you introduce time, you bind yourself into more bondage. You can't be tempted slowly. This is not the game of time. Next question, can you feel that freedom? If you say, I am free, you are not free. I'm happy as I speak. That moment has become a joyful thing. The freedom comes just when you come to the natural one, and don't want, ask, or pray, and you do not even have the picture. You can find what you have made in your mind to get freedom. Learning the mind, how to see the life that moves a big way without the bond of time, because the freedom goes beyond the field of conscience. Being safety in relationships becomes the cause of suffering and fear. It calls the insecurity only to find safety. Have you ever found safety in a relationship? Most people want someone to love and love them. But whether it's love when everyone is looking for his own safety occurs. We don't love because we don't know how to love. What is love? This word is so filled, so bad that I don't feel good to say. Everyone talks about love. Love every magazine, newspaper, missionary bus love. I love my country. From his king, from a book, from that mountain, from the fun, from his wife and from God. Is love an idea? If it is, it can be cultivated. Nourish can be done. The rotation can be changed. When you say, I love God, so it means you're loving your own brain's projection, your own image. You have given the form of responsive and holy. So say, I love God is perfect. When you worship God, you are worshiping yourself, and it is not loved. Because we don't understand this person who says love. So in the abstractions from what we run, perhaps love is a last solution for all the problems of man, problems and difficulties. So how do we know what is love? Just by defaulting. The church defended in a manner. The society has given the twist and turn of every other way. Ask anyone, sleeping with someone, emotional exchange, companionship. What is this love? That's what norm is made. This pattern, and it has become so personal, sensual, and limited that religious people say love should be something else. According to them, in human love, there is a feeling of play, condition, irritation, pose, control, and in other thinking. And when he sees it all, say that there should be a second version of love. Divine, beautiful, untouched, which is not kirked. People around the world call themselves holy, holy. He always said that the woman is wrong to see. He says you can't go closer to God if you're involved in sex. So he puts the sex in the side. But from the inside he is confused in the same. But when he has denied sexuality, he stops his eyes. Cut off your Juban. Because he refuses the beauty of the whole land. He has hungry his heart and mind. He becomes a dry person. He has added the beauty to the woman and out the beauty. Can love be divided into sacred and profane, human and divine, or just love? What is love for just one? Not for all. If I say I love you, so what does it mean I do not love others? Is love personal or impersonal? Is moral or immoral? is limited to family or even outside of it? Can you love one if you love humanity? Is love a sentiment? What is love an emotion? What is love, play, jar, and desire? We already have a thoughtful idea of how love should be or not. A pattern is a code created by our culture. So if we have to understand the love, first of all we have to remove the dust of the 6th centuries. All idols and ideologists will have to be removed. Distribute to anything what should be and what is. The most deceitful way is to understand life. Now how do I understand this fire that we say love? What is this flame is it? What is it in itself? Not just about expressing someone. First, I refuse all that the church, by the society, parents, friends, every book, said every man about love, because I want to know what it is. This is a great question that is associated with the whole humanity. I am stuck in any pattern I feel good at this time. So, if I want to understand it, I should not be freed from my own responsibilities. I'm confused. I am stuck in my own desires. So, I say clean your confuse. Perhaps you know what you love is. The government says kill your country, because you love your country. Is it love? Religion says leave sex for love with God. Is it love? What is love desire? Don't say. Love for most people is accompanied by desire, which gives the plaque through the senses. The connection of the sex and the entire experience of the sex I have sex no. But what is hidden in it? That's what sex gives you a moment to finish yourself. Then you return again with your old hustle. So you want to repeat the moment again and again in which there is no wonder. There is no problem. I do not. You say you love your wife. There is also a plaza of sex in that love. It also happens that one takes care of your children, maintain food. You have a dip on it. He gave you his body, his feelings, his own support, a feeling of security. Then he is separated from you or he gets bored or goes to someone else and your entire emotional balance is shaken and the distance that you do not like you is called you. Jealousy hurts, anxiety occurs, anger occurs, hated. I love you, but I hate you as soon as you're not mine. I love you as long as you are completing my desires, but as I don't like you when you stop giving it. So the agonism comes between you both. There is separation and there is no love when you feel different from the other. But if you critique all of this controversy states without a sputum with your wife, this endless fight is probably what you go for. Then you are completely free and that too. But if you have a dependent for your player on it, then you are your slave. So when there is love should be freedom, not only from the other but also from itself. This is mine. I take the emotional narration from you. I dip on you. All of these are always embodied fears, jealousy, guilt. And as long as there is fear cannot be love. A sad mind can never know what love is. Don't let anyone with the love of sentimentality and emotionalism. There is no relationship with the plaque of love and the desire. Love is not the result of the little one because the little one is the past. Thought can't make love grow. There's no jealousy in love as jealousy comes from the past. Love is always active, present in. I'll love or I'm loving. If you realize love you don't follow someone. Love does not perceive anyone. When you love, there is no responsiveness. Do you know what to love someone in real? Without hatred, without irritation, without anger. No matter what to do or what to think, without giving him a defect, without comparing anyone. What do you know? Where is love? Is there a child? When you have someone from your heart, from the whole mind, from the whole body, do you love with your whole life? No other happens when you lose yourself completely in that love. Does love have responsibility and fun? And what does love use these words? Do you understand any work? Is there love? There is no love in the forge. The structure in which the human being is trapped is ruined. As long as you are doing a job, it is your duty. You don't love it, do? Where there is love, there is no duty, no responsibility. Most mother-in-law thinks she is responsible for her children, and it means responsibility to tell them what to do and not, what to become and what should not become. Mothers want to have a safe position in their children's society. That is the part of the responsibility that he asks. And I think there is no order where responsiveness occurs. He just try to become a perfect Bordeaux or engaged in. When he prepares his children to fit into the society, he maintains war, conflict, and brutality. Do you call it care and love? Real care means taking care like you do for a tree or plant. Give him water, understand his need, see which soil is best for him. Take care of her softness and love. But when you prepare your children for this society, you are ready to die them. No war in the world if you love your children. When you if you cry from self-piety, it's not a sense of it because you're just thinking about yourself. If you're crying, that's not the love that was invested. You cry because you feel alone, because you have been left, because you are no longer powerful. If you understand this means touch it directly as you touch a tree, pilgrimage or hand. So you will see that the sorrow itself is the thing created. Sorrow is made by thought. The sadness is made by thoughts. So is the result of time. My brother was 3 years ago. Now he died. Now I am alone. I am in pain, not getting comfort or with anyone, and it's my brings tear in the eyes. It's all you can see inside. If you are observing, you can see it completely at a glance, without wasting time in analysis. You can see in a moment the complete structure of this little thing I say. My tear, my family, my country, my bylife, my religion, all this ugly is all inside you. When you see it from your heart, you only have the key to the mind when you see it from your heart's depths that eliminate this suffering from this sorrow. It cannot walk together, the suffering and love. This sorrow and love cannot walk together. But the Christian world has led the journey to idealize, hang him on the cross and worshipped him, just as you can move from the same door. And this is the applicating structure of the entire reliability society. So when you ask what is love, you may be afraid to see the answer. It may mean that the whole life will move. Your family may be broken. Perhaps you know that you do not love your spouse or children. Doing what? You probably have to break your home. You can never go back to the temple. But if you still want to really know, you will see that fear is not love. Burning is not love. It's not love to understand or capture yourself. Responsibility and fun is not love. Mercy on yourself is not love. The pain of hatred is not love. Love is not averse of hate, as humanity is not reversed. So if you do not insist to erase all these, on the like rain leaves wash the old dust. Maybe you're this strange find the flower from. The human being is always hungry. If you don't have love, just don't have a little bit. The world will be devastated if you are not filled with me. You know the mind that one of the human beings is essential and love is the only way. But who will teach you to love? Is there any authority? No method, any system can teach you to love? If someone is teaching you, then he is not loving. Can you say, I practice love? I will sit every day and love think in. I will practice that I become more kind and soft and force yourself to pay attention to others. Do you want to say you can love discipline or willpower? The love goes out of the window when you love the discipline and vilify. By following a method or system, you can become smarter or kinder or find a state of non-violence. But there is nothing to do with her love. This broken foot thirst is not loved in the world like the desert, as the play jar and desires play the largest role. But no means your everyday life without love, and the love cannot be until the beauty of it is with him. Beauty is not a thing. No beautiful tree, no painting, no building, no beautiful woman. Beauty is when your heart and mind know what love is. There is no inheritance without love and beauty. And you know well whether you improve the society, feed the poor, you will just cause suffering and discomfort, because without love there is only ugly and poverty inside the heart and mind. But when there is love and beauty, everything you do is right. There is a kind of order in everything you do. If you know how to love, so you can do what you want, because he is the solution of every problem. So we reach this point. Can the mind reach love without any discipline? A beautiful sunset is seen just like without thinking, without force, without any book, guru or leader. I think just a thing is essential, and he is without any motives. A position that does not result in any commitment or attachment. One who is not a last. A man who does not know the ration can never know the love, because love comes only when you completely leave yourself. A man who is looking for is not a patient, and love is only when you find him unchecked. When he comes in front of an effort or experience without an aversion. Love is not a part of the time. Love is also personal and also impersonal. There is one and many. As a flower has a fragrance, you can sniff or ignore. The flower is for everyone, and for him who feels him deeply, sees lovely. Whether a garden is near or away are all the same for the flower, as it is completely full of fragrance. And all with that fragrance is divided. Love is a new fresh alive. There is no tomorrow. There is no coming tomorrow. He is beyond the heart of thinking. Just an innocent mind knows what love happens, and an innocent mind can live in the world that herself is not innocent is. To get this strange thing that the human being is always looking for, by sacrificially, by blessing, in relationships, in sex, in the plaque and pen. This is only moment when the little one considers himself in the natural finishes. Then there is no object of love. Then there is no conflict in love. What would I do if I loved this? My wife, my child, my family must have security. When you ask for such a question, this means you never go out of the field of thought. Once you go out of that field, you never ask the question. Because you know what is love, so there is no stop and there is no time. Maybe when you hear it all and feel like magic, but actually go beyond the thought, and time means suffering. Go beyond sleep, and then you wake up that there is a different diet called love. But you it means that you are not looking to find it. There is no center inside you, and then there is love. So far we've covered almost 2 parts in this episode. The rest of the book is about 6 hours from my guess. If you have time, try to cover it again. When not to know. So much for today. We will then find you with a new topic in a new episode. Thank you.